What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday nights. It is Tuesday Night Titans. It is September 10th, 2024. I am your host, JD from New York, as always, joined by the one and the only, fresh out of Chicago, Illinois, the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
Fresh out of Chicago, very early in the morning.
Yes, I did not envy you at all.
Very early in the morning. So we had a great show on Thursday night, and then I had a great wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I could come back to New York, so that was fun.
That sounds fucking terrible.
Yeah, it was no fun.
No.
It was no fun.
No. Don't worry, you didn't really miss much of anything, Jesse. The pizza that you had, thank you for taking me for pizza, bro. I appreciate you, but New York pizza will always be king, man. I don't know where you took us, but it tasted like store-bought pizza, bro. You didn't miss anything.
But I got to meet the Chi-Town Smark in person for the first time. So
yes,
that
you
was
did.
nice.
Jesse's quality people. He's all right. He's all right. I'll see him tomorrow night. Tomorrow, we got Dynamite. Tonight, we got Tuesday Night Titans, Jason. We have a lot to get into. And it's been a wild week with fans voicing their opinions everywhere, whether it's good or bad, coming out of what I thought was a tremendous show on Saturday night with AEW All Out. All Out, I thought, was one of the most, I would say, consistent and easy to watch, free-flowing shows that AEW has done all year. I actually like the production and the way the show flowed better than All In, to be quite honest with you. I thought they hit a lot of home runs on Saturday night, and it was bookended by two tremendous matches. We had MJF and Danny Garcia, and we'll get into the whole card. And then, obviously, the talk of the town with Swerve Strickland and Adam Hangman Page in the main event, which was an unsanctioned steel cage match coming off Wednesday's very lackluster go-home show, but they ended with one of the best, if not the best, go-home segments that the company's ever done, with Swerve burning down the childhood, or actually, Hangman, rather, burning down the childhood home of Swerve Strickland, which I thought was fucking unbelievable. We're going to get into it all, but how are you feeling about everything, man? What are you looking back at as far as the week is concerned? How do you take all that has come out of All Out? Are you thinking these people are fucking crazy or what?
I have different thoughts. There were a lot of opinions, as social media usually does have a lot of different opinions coming out of these AEW shows. I don't know that I would be as enthusiastic about the show overall as you. I did think it was a very good show. I didn't think it was, their best show of the year or their best All Out ever or anything like that. But they opened strong and they ended strong. And then in the middle, you look at Will Ospreay and Pac. I mean, come on. You knew going into that was going to be an incredible, I called it a spot fest. And some people might take that the wrong way, but I mean, that's what it was. I call it the video game match of the night because those two guys go out there and do things that normal human beings just should not be able to do. And we're going to get more of the same with, Ospreay and Ricochet when the time comes. So it was just an incredible spectacle between those two. And then as far as the rest of the card, I think in some instances it was hit or miss. I mean, the Young Bucks defended their tag team titles, and not that it was a bad match, but my attitude is, as with a lot of the stuff the Bucks are doing lately, it's like, it's all right.
Yeah.
Nothing special.
If you miss it, you didn't miss much of anything.
Yeah. No, nothing special. And then, look, for the second show in a row, as far as, pay-per-views here, we had the TBS Championship defended in what I thought was the weakest card on the weakest match on the entire card. And the most underwhelming thing on the entire show. That's two shows in a row now.
Yeah, something definitely is amiss there with Miss Mercedes. We don't know what that is, but we will dive into all that. We got a lot of news and rumors tonight, guys. We got Monday Night Raw going back to 2 hours temporarily. Jason and I will discuss that. I know we're both over the moon about that, at least for the next 3 months, because you know what that means, Jason? It gets us out of here on Monday night around 12 o'clock, man. We don't have to be live till 1 o'clock in the morning anymore.
I know. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's great.
I love it. My fear is that I'm going to get so used to it, it's going to be more upsetting when they go back to the inevitable shift back to 3 or 3-ish hours. But I'll take what I can get. I think it's going to be for the better, certainly for us. But I said this last night, even if I wasn't doing what I do, I would still prefer the show be 2 hours.
Yes. I know a lot of people were especially on my end, they were like, "Oh, well, what's going to happen to all the talent that you're not going to see on the show?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know why this was a problem, or actually wasn't a problem when Triple H was booking NXT at 1 hour. He didn't use everybody that you wanted every fucking week, so
doesn't faze me.
Doesn't
faze me.
Doesn't bother me at all. One bit at all.
No,
So,
doesn't bother me at all. Not only that, every other show they have is 2 hours. So let's not pretend like 2 hours is some foreign concept here. They seem to do okay with their other shows at 2 hours. I'm sure they could find a way to make it work on Monday nights if they had to, but I'm not so sure that that's what's going to be happening.
All right, we'll talk about that. We got news on Cody Rhodes. He was sued by Fanatics and a musician
no, He and Fanatics were sued.
I'm
That's
sorry.
a whole different story if he was sued by Fanatics. Let's not start spreading rumors here.
A musician that I've never heard of before is suing WWE, Cody Rhodes, and Fanatics.
Let's not start spreading rumors and disinformation like that guy from The Blaze, who all of a sudden, after never reporting anything about AEW, all of a sudden put a tweet out and is talking about the AEW deal with Warner Brothers Discovery and all the negatives, and they're not getting what they want. I'm like, who? I don't even know who this person is. And that was a story this week. I don't know if we're going to get into it or not, but that was also a story this week.
I have his tweet bookmarked on my Twitter.
Yeah.
Just for a rainy day. So the fact that you brought it up, we'll discuss it for sure. But yeah, we'll talk about that as well. AEW and Fox Sports. Supposedly, there's a rumor going around that they may be in negotiations for a potential new show. I see a rumor going around on social media, as I'm sure you guys do as well, that AEW Shockwave could be a 1 hour new program for AEW. And Tony Khan did mention Shockwave at the post-show media scrum after All Out. And in his Tony Khan way, says that AEW is going to send the Shockwave through professional wrestling. Whatever that means, I don't know. Take that as you want. But we'll talk about that. We will get into the Mr. McMahon documentary. Apparently, there is news going around that it is an absolute double shovel burial of Vince McMahon. I say good. So I can't wait to watch it if that's the case. We have news on Bad Blood. What is Cody Rhodes potentially doing at Bad Blood? Jason and I will talk about that. Saturday night's main event coming back. WWE contract news. And we have Logan Paul and Kevin Nash, the online feud that started yesterday with Logan Paul just firing back at Kevin Nash after Kevin Nash blasted him on his podcast. Nonsense, but we'll get into it. And we thank you guys very much for joining us here on TNT, episode 65. And I got to shout out my guy right away, David Thiering. He walks in like a beast. He drops 100 at the bar, and he orders everybody a drink. David Thiering with a $100 super chat. What's up, JD? Solo, good job to both of you at the Hog Chicago show from last week. I was able to see it on Thriller TV. Thumbs up show. In my opinion, the IWC has gotten soft regarding Paige and Swerve and don't pay attention to the entire story. People bitch just to bitch. Hashtag TNT. Yes, they do, David. Yes, they do.
See, David knows what's up.
He knows. He's a smart one, that David. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you being here. As always, Jason and I love when you are on Tuesday Night Titans with us, sitting down enjoying a cold beverage. But you guys know what to do, man. Hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes tonight. It might be difficult with Trump and Miss Harris going at it in the bait. And then Julia, I believe, she just wrapped up on NXT debut against Chelsea Green. So she's doing her thing over there.
Yeah, and apparently somebody said Jacob Fatu as well. Apparently there's some bloodline going on NXT tonight.
Oh, my goodness. And there's a rumor that Alex Hammerstone is wrestling Obafemi. Is that true?
I believe it is, yes.
Oh, my God.
Well, Tony D'Angelo put a video out. I think they have like that NXT Anonymous account.
Yeah.
And there was a video where you couldn't see. The person was concealed. You saw a shadow behind like a glass wall or whatever. And Tony D'Angelo was talking to somebody, and people were thinking, just given the silhouette, it was either Moose or Hammerstone. I figured it was Hammerstone. And then I saw, it might have been Fightful, had some report earlier that I think basically indicated he was spotted, I think training at the Performance Center. So you put two and two together, and that's a pretty safe bet.
Before I saw him and his name floating around today, I thought it was Omos.
You would be wrong.
I'm glad I am.
I'm glad you are too. I don't know why you would think that.
I don't know, man.
It didn't look like him. It looked like somebody big.
Listen, man. I heard from a very credible source that you're an Homo sapien. Is that true?
That wouldn't happen to be Fire Panda, would it?
I don't know. Maybe it is.
Probably was. No, there's no truth to that.
Okay.
I have nothing against the guy, but there is no truth to that. Have you seen the videos that he posts on his personal YouTube, the fragrance reviews?
I have not. I am rightfully and deservedly so benched on Twitter, so I don't know what he does.
Well, this is on YouTube, and he's like really big into like men's cologne and like fragrances, and he'll do review. Like he's very well versed at it. And maybe there's like a gimmick idea in there somewhere. I don't know, but so I have nothing against Omos, but no, am I an Homo sapien? I wouldn't go that far.
It looks like the type of guy, or he looks like the type of guy that would be into fragrances and colognes. He looks like a dapper gentleman when he's not wrestling. You know? I don't know.
Is there a look for people who are
heavily
into fragrances?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Are they? Yeah. They have to be dressed a certain way.
Pretty people. Yeah. I don't know.
Pretty people. All right. So let the record show that JD referred to Omos as a pretty person. Okay. Let's spread that around social media instead of the usual hate. He thinks Omos is pretty. Okay. Let the world know.
Hey, listen, man. Listen. If you guys want to call me an Homo sapien, go ahead. Yeah, have at it. Do what you want with that. But as always, man, follow us on social media at JD from NY206, at Solid Monster. Down below in the description, you can find all that good stuff. Hit that subscribe button on both of our channels. Jason and I are live for every live stream during the week. Raw, AEW Dynamite, SmackDown, and all accompanying pay-per-views and PLEs. So make sure you guys go do that as well. And super chats are indeed open. I'd love to see a couple of bombs like David Theron in here. So we'll get that going, and we will read all your questions, comments, and concerns at the end of the show with our cold beverages. So thank you guys very much for all the support. And as always, Jason, I will leave it off to you. What do you want to talk about?
Why don't we talk about the greatest line uttered on Monday Night Raw this year? Let's show some love to our World Heavyweight Champion. The best segment on Monday Night Raw last night when we had Bret Hart. I don't know how long it's been since Bret's been on. It's been a few years, I think, since he's been on Raw. But there he was in Calgary last night, and he looked good, and he got great reception.
He looked thrilled to be there, didn't he?
Well, supposedly he was under the weather throughout the day. There was some talk he might not even be on the show, but all things considered, I thought he looked. But that's like his normal look, though. He probably saw Triple H in the back. He's not that fond of Triple H, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, let's just get through this here." So he came out to the ring, and then of course Gunther came out to the ring, and I don't know about you, but it's rare that I'm watching that television show, and I will audibly just laugh out loud. I might find something that's funny and get a little snicker out of it. I laughed out loud when he told Bret that he is only second to his real favorite wrestler of all time. A lot of people online thought he was going to say Shawn Michaels, but this was 10 times better. But you got to ask yourself, don't you think that it killed Gunther on the inside just a little bit? To even the minute those words left his mouth when he said that Bill Goldberg was his favorite wrestler of all time, he said it with a smile on his face, but you had to know it had to kill him inside a little bit, right?
Yeah, probably. Knowing the type of wrestler that he is, absolutely. I laughed just like you laughed. I laughed for a good 90 seconds at the line, and then I went back to watch it on Twitter. And I laughed all over again, just the way that it came out. I thought he was going to say Shawn Michaels, but I don't think Shawn Michaels fits in that context anymore, being that he's running NXT, and they've kind of made amends there, him and Bret.
He's been forgiven.
Yeah, he's been forgiven. But the thing is, who did they run this by Bret? Did Bret know that was coming, or was that a Triple H zinger in there? Man, you said these things about me all those years ago, man. I'll get you back.
Well, no, I would think that Bret would kind of just be in on the joke, and he'd be cool with it. So, but he had a smile on his face. Gunther, he couldn't wipe the smile off his face because he knew before the words even came out of his mouth what he was about to say, and he just delivered that line with just a smug smirk on his face. He has very quietly come along promo wise, as one of the standout performers on Monday Night Raw. I wouldn't say promos are something he was known for before. Yeah, when he was going around on the indies and these different promotions over in Europe, was he cutting promos on people? Right, probably not.
I don't think so.
No, and in NXT, like he wasn't known for his promos, but he's gotten a lot more comfortable in this role with just these like one-liners and these zingers at the baby faces. And last night it was a work of art. I don't think that he's going to be able to top that for the rest of the year. So that was just perfect.
You know, the funny thing is, I see Gunther get a lot of unnecessary hate from the IWC for whatever reason. I don't know. Man, I know he's not everybody's cup of coffee, but you can't deny that he's one of the best. If you told me Gunther was #1 pro wrestler in the world, you wouldn't get a fucking complaint out of me. I'm not going to argue that opinion. He's fucking great.
Who are these people though that are saying that?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, I see again. Like, I don't know.
They didn't grow up in the generation that we grew up in, so they don't appreciate all the old school methods to what Gunther is and who Gunther is. That's the problem.
I think you're hanging out in the wrong circles. I don't know who these people are that you're hanging out.
Man, the recommended feed on X is terrible. This is where I get all my.
Why do you use it? Like, don't even bother with it. That's
know.
the thing. I don't even look at it.
You don't use the recommended section at all?
For what?
I don't know.
I mean, occasionally, maybe I'll glance at it. But...
I mean, the recommended section, all I get on the recommended section is opinions like that, conspiracy theories out the ass, because that's what the platform's become. You know, it's like, what am I going to do? It's like entertaining to an extent, but it's like, okay.
That's why you follow certain people, because you don't want to amplify those who you don't follow. That's the whole point of following people on that platform.
I guess.
It's an addiction. You only have yourself to blame.
I know. Yeah,
but let them shout into the void.
I know. But those opinions do exist out there. I don't really understand them. But Gunther has quietly become quite the troll himself. He's not at Drew McIntyre's level, but he's done incredible work. I like the smug, pompous attitude that he's kind of shown and showcased since winning the world championship. So I think it's great. And he's got a match with Sami Zayn potentially at the pay-per-view, Jason. That was the segment. Sami Zayn, obviously a Canadian, and Bret Hart going to bat for Sami Zayn, saying that he's proud to be a Canadian champion and they never turned down a fight. And Gunther obviously has been kind of turning the other cheek to Sami Zayn, not wanting to give him the championship match that Zayn wants. Obviously, we know what's coming, but I said this on my Raw review last night. If you look up and down Bad Blood and what we're potentially looking at, this may end up being, card-wise, one of the best WWE pay-per-views all year. And I know I mentioned last week that these shows have been very Monday Night Raw heavy, these PLEs. SmackDown needs to come along, and we need something really substantial on SmackDown to kind of even it out a little bit. But if you really want to get away with 7 matches at Bad Blood, I know you said that we're probably not going to get that last week. 6 is probably the max for Triple H. But if you wanted to push it to 7... I would absolutely add Sami and Gunther to the show. I hope they don't do it on a Monday Night Raw. And Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker for the IC title absolutely should be at Bad Blood. I don't know what you're feeling in regards to those 2 matches, but how you feeling about that?
Yeah, Gunther and Sami Zayn, there's no way that takes place on television. That's number 1. So that will be a Bad Blood match. Breaker and Jey Uso, it's a little iffier. I think that match should absolutely be on the PLE. We've had all these qualifying matches on TV, the Fatal 4-Way last night. That's played out on television. Now I feel like that we're going to get the championship match. It should be on that show, but there's a hell of a lot better chance of getting that on TV than Gunther and Sami. Gunther and Sami, I have no doubt in my mind that's a Bad Blood match. Because how often do you even see world championships defended on TV in this company? Like, it's rare. It doesn't really happen that often. But Jey Uso has... You know, he wasn't even on the SummerSlam card, right? He wasn't on the Bash in Berlin card.
No.
I think he's due for a match on a PLE, given his popularity.
A match that he's not going to win, and I'm sure his father will complain once again, but...
Well, I would not say for sure that he is not going to win. I don't think he will either, but it's not an impossibility to imagine that they would say, you know what, he's due. And maybe they want him and Braun to work a whole program together and not just one match. They give Jey a win. Eventually, Braun gets the belt back. Not necessarily something I would do, but I could see it happening. Because he's had so many losses in big matches this year. Is this the time that they finally say, okay, you know, we're telling this story that he's never won a singles title before. Let's give him a singles title. I think it would be a mistake because I think it would hurt Braun, but Jay's so over. I mean, is it really going to hurt him that much if he loses and then gets his win back?
I mean,
And Jay's super over, so it's not like he's losing to a bum.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely a toss up. I wouldn't even if I had the pen, I wouldn't even venture doing that decision. But I could see where you're coming from for that.
Yeah. I wouldn't either. I would keep the belt on Breaker, but I'm just saying, like, don't automatically assume that Jay has no chance. I wouldn't say that he has no chance.
You don't think it's too close to how we're starting to build towards Survivor Series and getting the Bloodline kind of situated?
But what are we building to? See, I talked about this last week. It's getting very late, and it's not like they've given us any hint of anything with Jey Uso. So are we getting some kind of a Bloodline Civil War type match in War Games? Again, it would fit, but they've done nothing in that direction, and War Games is 2 months away. Is that enough time to get that whole team together to face off against Solo's Bloodline? It just feels very rushed to me to get to that point where you would have Jay kind of back in the fold with Jimmy and Roman, and I don't know, it just, Sammy's doing his thing with Gunther now. I don't know that we're going to get that necessarily.
I mean, they have to be there, no?
They'll be there, but is it going to be Bloodline 1 against Bloodline 2, or are they going to do something with the Judgment Day? I don't know. I'm a little less certain of that now, just because we're kind of racing against the clock here.
Yeah.
And they've been very careful with this Bloodline story. They take their time with it. Sometimes it feels like they take too much time.
Yeah, I could definitely get that sense too.
Yeah, there's a whole story there with Jay. It just feels very condensed. If all of a sudden in 2 months he's just shoulder to shoulder with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, hopefully we get the answers that we need on Friday. I know they advertised Roman, then they pulled Roman, and now supposedly he's advertised again for Friday's season premiere in Seattle. Bad Blood, obviously, on the horizon. We don't know what that means for Cody or who he's defending the title against, if he's defending the title at all, the WWE title, that is. We don't know what Roman's doing, what role he will have in the steel cage. I'm assuming he's going to aid Cody just like he did at SummerSlam, but I guess we can move on to that story here. WWE supposedly has plans for Cody Rhodes and a Cody Rhodes match at Bad Blood. Now, this is coming from Dave Meltzer, so please take this with a grain of salt. He said that there are plans for Rhodes to wrestle at Bad Blood, even though he did not go into any specifics on what he would be doing. He only mentioned...
Wait, hold on. So that was the report?
Yes. I'm going to read you. Okay. I'm going to read you what he said.
Before you do, though. So Dave is saying the news that he's breaking is that there are plans for the WWE champion to wrestle at Bad Blood.
Yes.
It's Atlanta. It's his hometown. Why wouldn't he be?
And he was in every vignette at the stakeout scene with whoever he was sitting next to.
Metro. It was Metro booming.
He was, I mean, I would assume he's going to be there. Unless he's just going to be serving hot dogs to everybody. I don't know.
No, I mean, there have been some PLEs where he's done like a Grayson Waller effect and he's done other stuff.
Please.
No, I mean, I can't imagine he's not on that show.
No. So Dave
Meltzer... I
Meltzer...
need Dave to tell me that.
I know. Dave doesn't really say a lot of anything. He says, and I quote, "You have only 5 match pay-per-views, and we've got Gunther and Sami Zayn. We've got Cody Rhodes, which will be announced on Friday, whatever they do with him. And we've got Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre." End quote. That was legitimately the report. Now, minus all that, don't even listen to that. The plan for Cody Rhodes right now is that he supposedly will be there. Now, I mentioned this on my Friday Night SmackDown review, Jason. I feel like that doing a KO, and I'm kind of warming up to a KO heel turn. I just don't see KO turning heel and then needing to wrestle Cody Rhodes because it's just going to be an inevitable loss for Kevin Owens. I wouldn't want him to take a second loss in a row after just turning heel to Cody. Randy Orton might be too soon. I think we are going to wait a little bit longer on that. With Roman showing face on Friday, and we got this steel cage match between Cody and Solo Sikoa for the WWE Championship, I think this is going to have an effect on what happens at Bad Blood. So I pitched Cody not defending the WWE title at all, but obviously wrestling at Bad Blood. What if he teams with Roman against Solo and Jacob Fatu in a big tag team match at Bad Blood?
You could do that. You could do that for sure, yeah. I mean, that I thought maybe there was a chance they would put something like that together for the SmackDown premiere. So the idea of Cody and Roman teaming and being on the same side against the Bloodline would make sense to me. And then you hold off on the next championship defense until Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Or the Saudi show, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if you had something else that you maybe wanted to see there, or maybe a different direction. Yeah, for Cody, yeah.
No, I mean, the idea that I had was Cody and Owens, with Owens turning heel, and then you do a rematch out of it. But like you said, I mean, do you want to beat Owens in his first match after turning heel? Or do they do what I have talked about them doing with Cody and Randy? Because I've said I don't mind Randy beating Cody. If they were to go to that this soon, and then Cody has to fight to get the belt back from Randy, what if they did that with Cody and Owens? But then I kind of feel like that would take away from whatever they eventually do with Cody and Randy.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal, but just the way that finish went down in Berlin, it just felt tailor-made for a rematch, for a heel turn first, and then a rematch. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if not only we get Roman as a surprise, I fully expect that on Friday, but they shoot another big angle after the match is over, maybe, where Owens turns heel on Cody. I still think there's a chance it might happen. Now, there was no indication of that last Friday. They just went, and this is why I think Owens needs to turn heel. All this did was bolster my argument for why he should go heel. He was right back to working with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory.
I know, you're the first person I thought of when we watched SmackDown. I'm like, there you go. I mean, it's just a waste of his talent.
Yeah, it's like we're right back to this again. He's just spinning his wheels. Like, this is why he needs a refresh. So I'd like to see them do it, even if that means he does go in there and lose again. I just think that to me would be the most likely match, but I could see them doing a big tag team match. But would they want Cody and Roman to be in a situation where they're not headlining the show?
I don't know. I mean, Roman, I think it's pretty common knowledge with everybody watching Roman over the last 4 or 5 years. He either opens or closes. So I could see that absolutely opening Bad Blood. Cody's opened several pay-per-views this year.
But if you have the Hell in a Cell match and you have the World Heavyweight Championship, so then Gunther and Sammy is second to last? Because I feel like the Hell in a Cell match should close the show.
No doubt about
it. McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being the case, yeah.
Yeah, that's possible.
In the chat, is Solid Monster Orange Cassidy, says JC. Yes, he is. Yes.
I don't know why it took you so long to figure that out.
Yes, he was in a four-way with Okada at All Out on Saturday. Yes.
I was. How'd I do?
Did great.
That's why. See, you spoiled it. Now that's why I didn't go live on Saturday night. I was busy.
There you go.
You spoiled it. I was working that night.
Drew McIntyre. Speaking of Hell in a Cell, Drew McIntyre and CM Punk was officially announced at Bad Blood inside Hell in a Cell. He did show up, and I love the way McIntyre basically, it's the little things that matter to me, Jason. I feel like with Punk last week, him being attacked, the bracelet being destroyed, he felt like he deserves now a world championship match because he beat McIntyre at Bash in Berlin. Knowing that he didn't really pin Drew McIntyre. All he did was touch four corners to win a strap match. But McIntyre owns a pinfall victory over Punk at SummerSlam. So he got his ass beat. He got his bracelet broken in the process. He got sent to the hospital for a third time by Drew McIntyre. So McIntyre comes out last night and says all that. You didn't pin me. You think you got a championship match coming to you. All you did was touch four corners. Just the little things that matter most. I feel like they did a great job in explaining that. McIntyre is not going to let this go. So Adam Pearce shows up, and he wants this to be over with. He wants it to be finished after Bad Blood. Hell in a Cell was announced, and we're getting both of these guys in one of the most iconic matches in WWE history. Now, two things. Before all of that was even announced, McIntyre made advances towards Wade Barrett, saying that, you're my friend, and, you tried to be the voice of reason, and then you got my way, and now I'm angry. What did you take away from the interaction? We didn't hear what Wade said because it was off mic. What did you take away from the interaction between Drew and Wade Barrett last night before the announcement for Hell in a Cell? Are you thinking along the same lines that I am, that after McIntyre and Punk is finished, that's going to be McIntyre's next program and Wade Barrett's going to come out of retirement?
I don't know if he's going to come out of retirement necessarily. He's cleared, so it's not like there's any restrictions on him getting back in the ring. I don't know. When was the last time he even had a match? We just had Nigel McGuinness come back in AEW after, since 2011. That was his last match, and he looked great. He looked like he would fit right back into things. So never say never. I kind of looked at it and thought maybe they're setting up a spot for the Hell in a Cell match where maybe Wade is bumped, maybe as a way to try to put more heat on McIntyre. Something happens during the match and Barrett takes a bump. So it to me, it's one of those two things. Otherwise, why is he involved? I mean, it even goes back to, God, I guess it would have been, what show would it have been? Money in the Bank? Where when the show was over, they cut to the announcers talking post-show, and then McIntyre like stormed the set, and he was freaking out. And I think Barrett was trying to calm him down. This is not the first time that Barrett has gotten involved in something.
Yeah, it was either that or Clash of the Castle when Punk had dressed as the referee.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that was it. Yeah. Now that I think about it, so to me, it's got to be building to something. I just don't know if he's going to do a full-blown match or not. I figure maybe a spot of some kind. If they end up outside the cell, I could see him being involved in some way there.
I'd like to see him wrestle personally. I don't know if I want to see him back full time as a WWE wrestler. I think he's great where he is. I think he's made a seamless transition into color commentary. I think outside Nigel is probably, and Corey Graves when he does it. Corey's number one, Nigel's number two. Wade would be a very close number two, right underneath Nigel for number three.
Well, there's one thing to consider. Right now, for at least the next few months, he is the number two to Joe Tessitore, who's still new at this. So if he's going to be involved in a full-blown program and lead to a match with McIntyre, there's going to be times then on the show where he gets taken out or he's involved in something and then he doesn't show up for the rest of the show. And is Tessitore supposed to carry it by himself? I think it's an important time for him, to be a part of that announce team because, you have this new guy in that play-by-play position who's probably leaning on Wade in some ways. I don't know. Is it smart to involve him in something like that when you have this new announce team that you've just put together and they're going to be together until the Netflix debut and then it flips? Is that smart? Does that not take him out of the equation at a time when he's needed?
No, it's an excellent point. I mean, when he's needed most with Joe is right now. Like I couldn't see him being taken away with someone who needs to be guided on how to run and navigate Monday Night Raw. So I think that's a great point. Yeah. I wouldn't move him. But I think he will be involved in some way, like you said. Either he gets involved in some dastardly deed that McIntyre is going to do inside the cell. We can find ourselves with the cage door open. Maybe Wade gets involved there. I don't know. We don't really know what Monday Night Raw is going to look like after Bad Blood. McIntyre can go away for a little bit. I pitched even maybe a loser leaves Raw match. I can't imagine these two coexisting even after Bad Blood. So it's going to be a very interesting situation how they deal with both Punk and McIntyre. As the rumor is Punk will go on to Gunther at Survivor Series. So I'm looking forward to it regardless. As far as the announcement, I'm sorry, Jessica.
I'm just going to say, you gotta imagine that Punk was pissed that of all the Raws for him to miss, that's the one where Bret Hart was there. Yeah, he probably wasn't too happy about that.
I'm sure. Like it would be smart if he mentioned that next week. He will be on Raw next week. That McIntyre cost them an appearance on Raw with Bret in the building in Calgary.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as the announcement with Hell in a Cell, I know a lot of people were excited about it. I even made mention. I don't know how you felt about it. I love that Adam Pearce made the announcement. I mean, there was nobody else to make the announcement. Obviously, it would have been great if Punk was there to make the announcement, but Punk obviously was selling the effects of last week's attack and the broken bracelet. Do you feel like Punk should have made the announcement, or was it just fine with Adam Pearce making the announcement?
No, I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I thought it was fine with Pearce. I don't see that as being that big of a deal. He said he talked to Punk, so I guess in effect, maybe Punk recommended it. Punk said, I want it. And then they just had, Pearce be the one to make the announcement. So I don't see that as being a big deal.
Me neither. I thought that was a very good segment for Drew McIntyre, Adam Pearce, and leaves a lot of open-endedness. What's going to happen following Bad Blood? Very excited about it. And Punk will be on Monday Night Raw next week, so hopefully we get pipe bomb Punk and not pandering Taylor Swift for men Punk, please. I would love to see that. We opened Raw. This is the last thing we'll talk about Monday Night Raw, and then we'll get into the 2-hour move back to Monday nights on October 7th. The street fight with the Wyatt Six and American Made opened Monday Night Raw. It was an 8-person mixed tag team street fight. I know you and I talked about this last week, Jason, how they would incorporate the ladies, Ivy Nile and Nikki Cross. What were they going to do? Because it was mostly the men in that match. I thought they did a great job navigating those murky waters. I thought the ladies fit in there, and they didn't really feel out of place at all. They had their own little spots. Nikki Cross even got in there and German suplex Chad Gable. I mean, I thought it was a very entertaining, fun, and mildly chaotic match that saw the Wyatt Six win. I thought that American Made, and I think you said the same thing last week, that this would have been an open for them to get a victory in this feud, but they clearly didn't go that way creatively. What did you make out of this last night? What did you think about the match? And is this over between both of these factions? Because I don't want to see it anymore, personally.
It's got to be over. I mean, it felt like what's left to do? There's nothing left. That's it. It's over. I made the comment, I think the best thing for American Made would be to be shifted over to SmackDown. Because I just feel like there's what's left for them to do on Raw at this point. You look at the champions on the show, they're both healed. And we've already seen Gable and Gunther, and that didn't end well for him. Gable and Sammy has been done. Just feels to me like if he's going to have any shot moving them over to a new show and having some fresh opponents, you could do Gable and LA Knight, maybe build to that for the US title. There might be more opportunities for them on Friday nights. And how you do that, you could always work out some kind of a trade, maybe a trade of some kind between the two, GMs. Maybe that would have been a great opportunity for them to do what you suggested for the McIntyre thing and maybe make that street fight last night, loser leaves town. But they didn't do that. I just don't know what else they do on Raw. They can't keep losing. I mean, I understand they're trying to get the Wyatt Six over and establish them. They've done that, but at the same time, you started this new group, and they need some support too, and they're just not getting that support. So now that feud is over, what else do they do on Mondays if they stay where they are?
Yeah, it is a very sticky situation because if you look at the landscape of Monday Night Raw, Chad Gable, I don't see him winning singles gold. I think that's where a lot of people want to see him. Winning singles gold. Braun Breaker, I don't see losing that championship for a very long time. Gunther's not going to drop that title for a very long time. The Creeds, I'd love to see them as tag team champions, at least start with them, build them up, get them to that point, have Gable be a great heat magnet for them. I think they are ready for that. They are a very, very good tag team. But like I said, as far as Drew McIntyre shifting over there, it actually might make more sense to move American Made over to SmackDown. Who we get in return coming back to Monday Night Raw, that is up in the air, but I could see, and I would love to see a Chad Gable versus LA Knight feud for the United States Championship, have them win the tag team titles over there, which are not doing much of anything right now. It's in the Bloodline story and just sitting there waiting for something to happen there. I think that might be the play. I don't know how we get there, though, but that might be the play.
Yeah. To me, it's the only play that makes sense for them. Otherwise, I just don't see a very happy future for them as a faction if they just keep doing what they've been doing on Monday nights.
Yeah, I'd like to see him win. A lot of people would like to see him win. He's great at whatever he does, and he's killed everything that he's been given. So no more with the Wyatt Six. The Uncle Howdy match happened. I wouldn't want to see it again. So where they go from here, I don't know. So we'll see what happens with Chad Gable, but hopefully it's something very, very good for him. As far as Monday nights, it was made very nonchalantly, the announcement that Monday Night Raw will be moving to 2 hours on October 7th. They will remain with the USA Network as their deal is coming up with NBC Universal and USA Network as they now shift gears to moving to Netflix in January at the beginning of 2025. So the deal with them is coming up relatively soon. And USA Network, NBCU, had signed Monday Night Raw on to stay with the network for the next 3 months until they get transitioned over to Netflix. October 7th is the date. 2 hours Monday Night Raw between 8 to 10. Love it. And PW Insider's reporting that when it comes to Raw going back to 3 hours, because this is the talking point now, are they going to go back to 3 hours? What's the Netflix deal going to look like? When the Netflix deal kicks in, they've not been able to lock down a definitive yes or no on if the brand is going to go back to 3 hours. Now, while WWE may have to stick with the show for 2 hours for now, nobody knows what's going to be when they get to Netflix and how long the show is going to go. It was said some in the company have played coy when asking others, and the idea of them coming up with show length depending on what is needed that specific week once they move to streaming. Now, I mentioned this on my end, Jason. I feel like I think everybody's in agreement. 2 hours is the prime spot for Monday Night Raw. Every other pro wrestling show that you watch on television is 2 hours. NXT's 2 hours. Dynamite, TNA, SmackDown. I mean, that's...
Well, not everybody is in agreement. Because they tweeted the announcement as breaking news last night, the WWE Twitter account.
Yeah.
And I went scrolling through some of the responses. And there were quite a number of responses that were not happy about this. And it just struck me as either being younger fans or fans who really have only known Raw as a 3-hour show. And it's hard to think about sometimes. You forget that Raw has been 3 hours now for 12 years. It's a long time. And there are a lot of new fans that have been made in that time that never knew Raw to be a 2-hour show. To them, it's always been 3 hours. And now you're taking an hour of Raw away. And they seem to be very upset about this. Of course, I'm not one of those people. But I would not say that everybody is on board with that idea. Clearly, they have their fans who like Raw being 3 hours. If you gave them the choice, they probably would want it to be 4 hours. Thankfully, these people have no power. But I think most people who've been watching Raw for longer than the last 12 years, I would like to think would be okay with the show moving back to 2 hours. Because 3 hours on a weekly basis, not that it can't be done. We've had quite a number of Raws this summer that were actually very good. But I still feel that 3 hours every single week, there is no wrestling show, no weekly wrestling program that needs to be 3 hours.
Triple H even said himself to book a 3-hour show is an arduous task, and he would prefer 2 hours. I don't know when he said that, but I know he said that at least a couple of times in passing when he was asked that question, yes.
Yeah, he made that comment many years ago. I think it might have been when he was on the Stone Cold podcast on the network. So that goes back, that might go back 10 years now. But I'm in agreement. I mean, if I were in his shoes, it's a difficult thing. Now they've maybe mastered it because they've been doing it for so long. They have their way of doing it. They're used to it by now. But it is harder. It is harder because you're also trying to fit more people on the show, which means you have to come up with more ideas for the show. And I just look at it and go, every other program they have, SmackDown, NXT, it's 2 hours long. So it's not like they can't do a 2-hour show and make it successful. Are there certain people who would not be on the show as often? Yes. It doesn't mean they have to be on the show every week as long as they're on the show the following week. You could still get them consistent television time. But this is a company that succeeded for many years with a 2-hour program. I think they'll be okay if they have to go back to 2 hours. Like, I don't understand this. The alarm bells that some people were ringing, like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible for the roster. Well, then maybe you need to do some roster reshuffling. Or you just have to do a better job of managing your talent. That's it. It can be done. It's not the end of the world. The sky is not falling. But I would much rather see a 2-hour Raw. Now, you mentioned the PW Insider report. I did see Meltzer posted his own, and he said he had just gotten off the phone with somebody at WWE and confirmed that Netflix will be 3 hours. So according to him, according to him, he says he just talked to somebody there just this afternoon, and they did confirm that Raw on Netflix will revert back to 3 hours. I think that we don't know. We still don't know what the situation is going to be as far as do they have a hard stop. I don't see why they would. I would be okay with the idea of Raw not being 3 hours, not even being 2 hours on the dot, but having that flexibility where some weeks the show can be 2.5 hours.
2 hours and 7 minutes, 2 hours and 28 minutes. According to creative, there's a major match that needs a little bit more in-ring time. Let's give it to those guys that are in the ring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you avoid these situations that we sometimes find ourselves in on USA where you could tell they're racing to get to the finish before they go off the air. And also the predictability of, like, you look at the clock and you just know, oh, okay, this match only has like 2 minutes left.
Yep.
Now, with Netflix, if they have that flexibility, well, the match can end at any time. I like that aspect of it.
I do as well. That's very exciting to me.
Yeah. So I'd be okay with that if the show wasn't exactly 2 hours, if it was somewhere between 2 and 3, maybe in the 2.5 range. But if it varied week to week, I don't really see what the issue would be unless, now they do have international TV deals. So I could see maybe that would be problematic as far as that goes. But does Raw air live in that many other places and parts of the world? I don't know if it airs live or if it's all on a delay. So there could be international streaming or viewing issues that would affect that. But that's one aspect. The other aspect is we don't know what the commercial situation is going to be. They will have ads, but it hasn't been made clear whether or not they're going to be traditional television ads or if it's going to be more like what we get on these PLEs, where if you're paying for a certain tier, are there different tiers or packages on Netflix?
I believe there is, yeah.
Okay, so depending on the tier that you have on Netflix, if you're paying for no ads or few ads, maybe you just get these long extended video packages, in between segments. And if you are somebody who doesn't have, let's say, the premium tier of Netflix, maybe you get more traditional commercials. That hasn't been made clear. So we still have to find out what that situation is going to be.
So just to go along with what Jason said here, there are three Netflix plans. There's a standard plan with ads, ad-supported, but a few movies and TV shows available. Standard, unlimited ad-free movies, TV shows, and mobile games. And then premium, obviously you get all that plus 4K, and you can download on 6 supported devices at a time, and you can add up to 2 extra members and all that stuff. So yeah, we don't know what the commercial situation is going to look like. Like Jason said, we could get vignettes and WWE-like commercials thrown about in Monday Night Raw. We don't know what it's going to look like. But the fact that everybody's making a big deal about it not being 3 hours, like you said, I think it's a younger audience. I think it's an audience that hasn't been with the show as long as we have and been through the trenches and battled through the murky waters like we have with Monday Night Raw over the last 12 years. We've been asking for this. We've been praying for this, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope it sticks. I don't think it needs to be a hard stop at 3 hours. I would love a randomized Monday Night Raw, depending on the situation, depending on the creative, depending on the card, every single week. Now, the one major criticism, Jason, is with these people being upset with it not being 3 hours anymore, is their favorites are not going to be used on a week-to-week basis. But, you and I watch Old School Black and Gold. A lot of people here watch Old School Black and Gold. Triple H was in charge of that, and he booked 1 hour every single week. You didn't see Undisputed Era every single week. You didn't see Johnny Gargano every single week. You didn't see Velveteen Dream every single week. They had a revolving door of talent in and out, depending on the creative. But at the end of the day, like you said, it was all WWE's management managing their talent roster, putting the pieces in place so that everybody got a time to shine, and then they built towards whatever takeover they were building towards, and everything made sense, everything felt right, and you were never left asking, well, where's this guy? Where's that guy? Where's this woman? Why is this women's division this way? A lot of it is going to come down to Triple H, and I feel like he's done it before, and I don't really see him messing that up because I think that's right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident, whatever they settle on, people will still get consistent television time. That seems to be a hallmark of his booking, and Chad Gable's talked about this after he re-signed, that it's one of the things he actively tries to do. He tries to find something for everybody on the show, even if it's just a brief thing in the back. He wants people to get consistent television time, and it makes sense because you can't get over if you're not consistently featured on the show. It's a lot harder. People need to see you, know you're there, know what your role is, your character is on the show. I mean, look at Alpha Academy, right? I mean, it's a mid-card act, but you look at Maxine and Otis and Tozawa, and they got over because consistently every single week they were featured on the show, whether it was in the back, whether it was in the ring. That storyline, with Gable and the way he was treating them, it got them over. But they were featured consistently. If you have 1 hour less, yeah, it might be harder, but I still think they'll find a way. And if you're not on the show every week, that's okay. As long as you come back the next week and you're back on the show. I don't see the issue with that. Look, the wrestling that I grew up on, there are elements of wrestling from the 80s and the early 90s that don't apply today. But then there are some very basic aspects of it that absolutely could still be applied today. And when I used to watch these syndicated shows, and it was mostly squash matches, but you would have guys, they weren't on the show every week. You would have somebody featured, let's say 1 week, they might not show up again for 2 weeks, but they were featured, they were, put over strongly, and they got over. Didn't mean that Sid Justice and Jake Roberts and all these people, when their names were announced, it was special, like, oh shit, he's going to be on the show next week. Because they weren't on the show every week. And again, they had 48 minutes or whatever it was with commercials. The show was only an hour long. This is nothing new. This is the way wrestling has been booked for decades. So 1 hour less of Raw is not going to be the killer I think that some people are worried it will be.
No, sky is falling on social media with these people. I think it's going to be a much-needed change for Monday Night Raw and the company, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Quality over quantity is what I always say, and that goes along with what Triple H used to do in Black and Gold. How much of Monday Night Football is attributed to this decision, Jason? Is that going to be looked at as a positive for WWE, that 8 to 10 time slot? You know, that third hour is notoriously an hour that brings the show down, both in rating and in quality. I feel like with Monday Night Football, obviously, Monday Night Raw's ratings came in yesterday at 1.44, so you know they're going to be in it for it's going to be a battle this football season. How much of that is a decision to go along with moving them to 2 hours?
I don't know that it had any direct impact on that decision. I mean, they're not even supposed to be on USA anymore.
Yeah.
You know, their deal was over. This was going to be it. And because the Netflix deal doesn't start until January, they had this weird period where they had no home. So they worked out a deal with USA. I think they're getting paid, it might be a flat fee of $25 million. And USA agreed, okay, we'll let you stay for another few months, but it'll be 2 hours instead of 3. I don't know what they're planning on airing at 10 p.m. So is USA planning on debuting some new programming? Is there some new reality show that they're going to premiere and use Raw as a lead-in in the 10 p.m. hour for some new show? We still don't know. I feel like we're not privy to all those details yet. So I don't know that football necessarily had anything to do with that decision. I mean, cutting the show down by an hour, what impact would Monday Night Football have on them wanting to cut the show down from 3 hours to 2 hours? It would make more sense to me if they said, no, we have another show that we want to premiere, and so we'll use the wrestling show, which is our biggest show, as a lead-in, which is something they've done, by the way, for decades. How many times over the years, I mean, going back to the 90s, have we seen USA trot out new shows immediately after Raw, usually at 11 o'clock, and they usually don't work. But you had La Femme Nikita for many years. And
Monk.
Then they Monk. Remember that show Happy Hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've tried so many different shows over the years. It could just be a situation like that where they've got something new, and I don't know what it would be, but they want Raw to be the lead-in. It could be as simple as that.
You know, Monk is he's a silly guy, that Monk, man. A lot of people have compared me to Monk because I have
OCD.
Cleanliness, OCD issues, yes.
Yeah. I never saw the show. I know it
Me neither.
well.
I mean, I know who he is and what he's about and what the character's about, but I never watched one episode.
No, of course. Tony Shalhoub was on a show called Wings many years ago.
I remember Wings, yeah.
Yeah. But I never watched Monk. Apparently it's very well rated. I should probably check it out one day. But USA has really fallen off from their glory days. They used to have so many shows. I mean, you could have, there was a laundry list of shows, and you had, remember Duckman? It goes all the way back to the 90s with Duckman. But they had La Femme Nikita, they had Pacific Blue, they had Suits and Monk and Psych. I mean, what do they have now? They have Raw.
I couldn't tell you outside Monday Night Raw. I have no CSI. Is that still a thing over there?
Well, those are reruns, though. They have plenty of Law and Order reruns. That's not like a USA show, though. I'm talking about like a USA original.
No clue.
They don't really, maybe they don't have the money to spend on producing them anymore. So they have Raw. That's really all they have. Now they'll have SmackDown, but they won't have Raw anymore.
Is Monday Night, listen, I know Monday Night Raw's going 2 hours. Did you hear anything about SmackDown being 3 hours on Friday, or is that just a fucking rumor that someone started?
That's a rumor that somebody started.
Okay.
I've read nothing credible about that.
Okay.
Apparently SmackDown is going to be 2 hours. I did see something mentioned about that earlier today. I think it might have been Mike Johnson, who said that SmackDown is not moving to 3 hours.
Okay, good. No, we don't need to flip-flop shows, okay?
But that doesn't mean that with whatever new deal they're working out, that Dynamite might not eventually expand to 3 hours. I don't know. I don't know.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
He's got problems booking 2 hours. Never mind a fucking extra hour. We'll get into Dynamite a little bit later. They did announce some stuff for Dynamite on Wednesday. Another gauntlet match.
No, let's drive it into the ground. Although I guess you could say they haven't done a tag team one yet. This will be the first tag team gauntlet.
We'll get into it a little bit later. CM Punk here, his friendship bracelet apparently was a thing before WWE pulled it the same day, because I seen this today. I don't know how long this was up on the shop. Might have been a couple of days, but people complained about it as of today, and it is no longer on the shop. They were selling CM Punk's friendship bracelet, the same bracelet that McIntyre destroyed into pieces and then fed to CM Punk last week. They were selling a replica of this bracelet, which bears the name of AJ and Larry on it, for $9.99 after Punk said this was a 50-cent bracelet. So the description on WWE Shop, I have to read this because whoever pens this description, I don't know if it's AI generated, but I know it's not a human being because there's no human being that I know that speaks like this.
Well, doesn't the bracelet say CM Punk's name on it too?
Does it?
I thought it had Punk's name on it too, which kind of kills the whole gimmick. I mean, I don't think his name was on the original one. I thought in the image I saw it had his name on it, unless I'm mistaken.
Either way, it's pathetic. This is what it says here. CM Punk keeps a reminder of his love for his wife and furry four-legged family member, Larry, in the form of a friendship bracelet. Take a trinket that reminds you of your loved ones wherever you go, like the Second City Saint, by making this CM Punk friendship bracelet yours. One look at this accessory lets everyone know you'd fight to get your piece of flesh if anyone questions your loyalty to those you hold dear.
I thought you were gonna say like you get your pound of flesh if anybody says anything bad about CM Punk.
That's what it says. That's the description of this replica fucking bracelet on WWE Shop.
After everything that I said when he got terminated from AEW, you know there are people like that on social media who would want their pound of flesh if you say anything bad about CM Punk. Yeah, that sounds AI generated to me.
Jesus. Oh my God. That sounds awful. So this item obviously caught the attention of the original person who made this bracelet for CM Punk. Her name is Victoria, who created the original bracelet and gifted the item to Punk during WrestleMania week earlier that year, in whichever year she gave it to him. On Twitter, Victoria shared that a heads up would have been appreciated and admitted that the bracelet was supposed to be a one-of-a-kind item for CM Punk. Later, Victoria clarified that she doesn't have any beef with WWE and was simply taken by surprise that her creation is now being used for merchandise. Now, I did a video earlier today, guys. I don't know if you watched it. If you haven't, it's on the homepage. Go and check it out. I said this briefly in regards to this story. It was supposed to be a one-of-one item for CM Punk, and the whole storyline was revolving around this bracelet that McIntyre wanted so viciously to take away from Punk because it was the one thing that he held near and dear to his heart after Punk ruined McIntyre's 3 separate championship opportunities. This bracelet meant everything to him, and he destroyed it and then fed it to him on last week's Monday Night Raw. What does that do in people's minds, Jason? To me, I look at the storyline, and the bracelet's destroyed, and there's no more bracelet. Punk's got no more bracelet. Now you're putting the fucking bracelet on WWE Shop, and everyone's got a bracelet. So doesn't it ruin the whole mystique of the storyline that Punk had this one thing that was so near and dear to him that he only had and no one else had? McIntyre destroyed it, and now you're putting it on WWE Shop for everybody to own. It's like, yeah, thanks for killing the fucking whole storyline, guys. Really appreciate that.
Well, the storyline was over because the bracelet was destroyed. So, but it shouldn't shock anybody. I mean, this is a company, they would stick a barcode on their mother's ass if they could make money off of it. I mean, they don't care. They're going to make money off anything. And, charging $9.99 for it is just hilarious to me because it really was. It was a 50-cent bracelet. So now they'll charge $10 plus shipping, by the way. So the bracelet will probably cost $15 before it comes to your door. Look, I mean, it's a nice thing. These wrestlers now, they get all kinds of bracelets. You look at Cody Rhodes or Rhea Ripley, any given appearance. I mean, their whole freaking arm is just filled with bracelets. I've been given a friendship bracelet before at the House of Glory show.
I got bracelets. I got my guy, Fujins Henry, made me 3 beautiful bracelets that go along with the podcast and the boldness of the podcast. Aristocrats on social media. Go follow them. I mean, I love a good bracelet. I really do.
Yeah, and so it's cool. It's a very nice gesture. The reality is, and she admitted it on her Twitter, like WWE does not owe her anything. I mean, they didn't have to clear it with her. They didn't have to get her permission or her blessing. And they didn't. It's not like she's owed something. She just thought it would have been nice to get a heads up or some kind of acknowledgement, even in the description, which would have been fine. Why not just acknowledge that this kind of stemmed from a gesture on the part of a fan, maybe, put her name there. That's really all that she was talking about. And I'm sure she was getting hate from people saying, what do you think you're entitled? But the whole thing to me is it's just silly. It's just them being WWE, where nothing is off limits as far as what they can sell. Look, this is a company that has sold garden gnomes and all kinds of weird items that they thought they can make a buck off of. So why would the bracelet be any different? I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but it's over because it was destroyed on TV. So that aspect of the storyline is over anyway. It feels kind of, I don't know, it just feels kind of like,
let's give everybody a bracelet now. Whatever.
Well, yeah, but you can give everybody a bracelet, but that particular bracelet is what meant something to him because it came from her. It came from a fan. So now they're just trying to piggyback off that and say, oh, you could be just like CM Punk and you can get your own bracelet and feel connected to him in some way. And I think most people probably look at it and go, yeah, you're full of shit. I mean, there might be little kids who will force their parents to buy it for them, but it's a moot point anyway, because like you said, it's been pulled. Because I think they realize the whole thing is just
it's stupid. McIntyre had fun with it today because Victoria did actually tweet out on September 9th. A heads up would have been nice, LOL. So Drew McIntyre tweets out today, as of 7 hours ago, all this bitching and moaning and crying. No wonder CM Punk is your hero. He got 28,000 likes and 3 million views on the tweet.
And then become the ultimate troll.
And then someone else said to Drew in regards to that comment, she cooked you last time, brother. And then he replies back to this account, she ain't gonna shag you, brother. Oh my God, man. He's great, man. I don't know what social media classes he took, man, but this year he is at a different level compared to everybody else. Love it.
Yeah, he's doing his best work. And I wonder though, a lot of these segments, these great segments and promos that we've seen him in, he just starred in his first movie, which had its big Hollywood premiere last night, which I guess he wasn't allowed to attend because he had to be at Raw.
The Killers, right?
The Killers game. Yeah, the Killers game with Dave Bautista, who recommended him for the role because apparently the person who directed the film said, I'm looking for a menacing looking person with a Scottish accent. And Bautista's like, I got the perfect guy for you. So this is his first film, and I wonder, what kind of acting classes maybe he took, because there's just even his promos really on TV. There's just, going back to the end of last year, there's just a different vibe from him that we didn't have previously. Maybe it was just that he was a babyface for most of that time, and it's different now that he's a heel. Yep. But I do wonder, as far as like acting classes or what he may have gone through and how, if at all, that may have helped him in this role that we see him in now on TV.
Whatever it is, it's working. I love it.
Yeah.
When you talk about, I know, didn't PWI list their top 500 for the year today?
I believe they did.
I know Cody was number 1 and Swerve was number 2. I didn't really look past that, but I'd be shocked if McIntyre
was number 3.
I'd be shocked if McIntyre wasn't in the top 10.
Yeah, I didn't see the full list. I just know who the top 3 were. No, Ospreay was 3, and I didn't get a chance to see after that. He's got to be at least top 10 at the very least. I mean, how could he not be? Even top 5.
So, yeah, McIntyre doing his thing. Hell in a Cell, Punk. Looking forward to it. Moving on here, we got some Saturday night's main event news. This is actually being reported by WrestleVotes. Now, Saturday night main event will return. The specials ran originally from 1985 to 1991 on NBC in place of Saturday
92.
Night Live. 92, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. You would know better than me. Sorry, typo.
Well, 92, to be fair, 92 was on Fox.
Okay.
There were 2 of them on Fox in 92, and then we didn't see it again until 2006.
Yeah, see, I put 1991 on NBC, so I wasn't totally wrong.
Okay, so that's accurate.
Okay. Took place for Saturday Night Live.
I corrected you. I corrected you.
Look, I even put it in 1992. It aired on Fox before it disappeared. So listen, man, I got some of my stuff here.
All right.
WWE brought it back in primetime in March of 2006 when it returned to NBCU for Raw on USA Network. That lasted until August 2008. WWE previously used the theme for a select number of house shows years ago. Now, WrestleVotes is reporting that WWE will announce its first NBC primetime special since August 2008 in the coming days, with some internal speculation about a Saturday night in December. That has been speculation as to whether WWE would use the Saturday night's main event name. So Meltzer reported that WWE told us at The Observer that the return of Saturday night's main event will be announced very soon. So that would indicate this is accurate.
Well, there was a news item earlier today that they have filed an application to trademark Saturday night's main event. So
there you go.
It's all but official. and I said this on my show. They're talking about December. What do you think the chances are? They have a
please no, please don't.
They have a house show in Orlando on December 28th, which happens to be a Saturday night. What do you think the chances are that will end up being the night that we get Saturday night's main event back?
Bro, please don't put that out there. That would be. I don't want to. I don't want to deal with that. I don't.
I'm just saying. Hey, are you gonna tell me that you don't think they would do that?
Of course they would do that. They probably already have that penciled in as the fucking date for Saturday night's main event.
I'm sure they do. That's why I brought it up.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, but in regards to this coming back, we're getting 4 of these per year, once per quarter. I think that's a great move, especially in the month of December, where it makes the most sense because as of last year, WWE hasn't run a PLE in December. We usually go from Survivor Series to no PLE in December and then right into the Royal Rumble. So December and January this coming cycle, we will not have a pay-per-view or PLE for 2 months. So Royal Rumble's happening in the first week of February, and Saturday night's main event is going to be the biggest show that we get in between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble. So I actually like it when it fits into that whole scheduling that WWE puts out there, Jason. But, you know, it coming back for a random Saturday night, and listen, it beats Collision. So I'm all on board with this. I think this is a great move.
Yeah, and you know what? It fits in with something else. When we were talking weeks ago about John Cena, he's going on his retirement tour next year. He's wrestling through December. And I said that, you know, you can build an entire special out of his final match, either on Netflix or on NBC, because they have these specials that they're contracted to. So now we find out that Saturday night's main event is coming back, you know, 4 times a year. Probably get another one in December of next year. And there it is. I mean, you could take an entire Saturday night's main event special and build it around the finale of John Cena's career and really build it up as a special event on NBC, which even more than Netflix, at least here in this country, maybe not globally, but has a wider viewership. You can get a lot of eyeballs on that show.
That's a good move. I like that. I mean, imagine a retirement. John Cena's last match ever, singles match in WWE on NBC on a Saturday night. Yeah. Wow.
Live in prime time.
It's pretty good. I like it. So, yeah, that's coming back, guys. Look forward to that this December. I would advise that they do something really, really big, whether it's a Cody title defense. Maybe we get Cody versus Randy on that show. I don't know. Maybe it depends on what's going on creatively, but something big for sure. WWE title on the line. So I'm looking forward to it. Money in the Bank. We are getting Money in the Bank next year, potentially coming to Milwaukee. According to the Milwaukee Business Journal, Sports Milwaukee is putting together a bid to host next year's Money in the Bank premium live event in the city. If WWE accepts the bid, then it will take place at Fiserv Forum. Officials in the city have previously shown interest in hosting WWE PLEs, with Mayor Cavalier Johnson previously telling the Business Journal that he's a huge WWE fan and had past talks about WWE coming to Milwaukee hosting a large-scale event. Now, if you guys remember earlier in the year, I think it was in Q1, Milwaukee leaders were in talks with WWE about pitching a possibility for the Royal Rumble to come to American Family Field Ballpark once it was winterized and set up appropriately. The city previously hosted the 2012 Elimination Chamber and 2017 Fastlane events, and they will hold a SmackDown show there on November 15th. Listen, this is common knowledge, Jason. This is a Nick Khan thing. Every major city is going to be bidding for all these major shows, especially the Big Five. Money in the Bank is a part of the Big Five. And it certainly beats going to Milwaukee in July or June, wherever this takes place, instead of going for the fucking Royal Rumble in the dead of winter in January. So if you guys are going to Money in the Bank or want to go to a Money in the Bank, there you go. Milwaukee.
Here they have some good beer there.
They do.
Milwaukee.
And cheese.
What?
Not really your forte. I know.
No, we can leave that last part off.
Yeah. I'm a cheesehead, but yeah, Milwaukee may be getting Money in the Bank. I mean, we'll see what happens. But WWE's they're very coy about their pay-per-view announcements. They strategize like they're playing a game of chess. So you see how they announce these shows. So look forward to that. And that is the going rumor right now with Money in the Bank. Some WWE contract news here. Several signings of WWE stars to new contracts. Becky Lynch is not one of them. She's still a free agent and still taking a sabbatical from the company. WWE was able to lock down Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and Asuka most recently to new deals. Nice to see that. We love Asuka. They will be looking at inking Kevin Owens as well, as his contract's coming up in January. But in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that several stars have contracts coming up. And Meltzer wrote that WWE went to a number of people whose deals are coming up over the next several months to sign new contracts. Asuka's was announced publicly. There may be others, but WWE did not confirm them. Sean Ross Sapp did confirm that Cedric Alexander re-signed with the WWE earlier this year. They were told that the deal is a multi-year contract in length like many others. Alexander joins a number of WWE talent that re-signed in 2024. MVP recently noted as well that he believes Cedric had re-signed with World Wrestling Entertainment. Also, Sheamus is looking to be locked down. That would be great. I had possibilities of maybe him leaving the company. There was a little period there where he wasn't on TV. A lot of people were wondering about his whereabouts. I'm glad to see him stay. And Shayna Baszler has resigned as well. Fightful's also told that a deal came together recently to bring back Shayna Baszler, as that contract was set to expire this year. So as you see, Jason, I mean, they're locking down some of their veterans. You know, just keeping those key pieces in place, and nothing too major here. But I'm glad to see Sheamus staying with WWE. I love him.
Yeah, and that's not really a surprise.
No.
I mean, he's been there for the entirety of his, career since he came over here, and he still has that one story yet to be told.
Oh, yeah.
About him in the Intercontinental Championship. So, not a big surprise there. And Sheamus, look, even though he's older and he's got injuries, he's got spinal stenosis. I mean, he's probably on borrowed time as far as his in-ring career is concerned.
He certainly don't wrestle like it.
No, I was going to say he's always reliable for a very good match. He goes out there, his matches are physical and snug, but they get over, and I'm glad that he's going to be sticking around for a while because he's a quality television performer that they could definitely utilize. Yeah,
and other talents that they did lock down that I did not mention: Humberto Carrillo, Angel Garza, and Damian Priest. Charlotte, as you guys know, Bailey were also signed. So WWE's throwing their money around. They're keeping some of their key pieces, so it's good to see. Everybody's getting paid, and everybody's living a good life, so good for them. Cody, let's talk about this. There's two lawsuits here. I know, Jason, if you guys want to go listen to the Kevin Kelly lawsuit that Jason talked about on the Sound Off, he's got all that for you. I didn't even put that here because, I mean, it was just all over the place, and I didn't really want to wrap my head around it. But if you guys are into that type of thing with Kevin Kelly and the boys suing AEW, by all means, go listen to Jason's podcast. But Cody Rhodes, WWE, and Fanatics are being sued by a musician over the American Nightmare trademark. Now, this is coming from Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics, Brandon Thurston. Punk rock musician Wesley Isold has sued WWE, Cody Rhodes, and Fanatics. I never heard of him before. Plus, I don't even listen to punk. Fanatics over an alleged trademark infringement, breach of contract, and intentional interference with contractual relations. So WrestleNomics and Post Wrestling reported this. Isold has been the lead singer and co-founder of the band American Nightmare since 1998, with the band touring as recently as last year. He holds the trademark rights to the term, something he registered in 2016 for use in music, clothing, and entertainment services. Rhodes applied for the term in 2019 for wrestling-related purposes and was opposed by Isold, with the two sides agreeing to a settlement in March of 2021 to resolve the dispute. The report noted, under the settlement terms, Rhodes was allowed to use American Nightmare on his merchandise under the condition that such items prominently use Rhodes' name, likeness, or wrestling-related imagery in a size at least 75% larger than the American Nightmare text, according to the settlement agreement provided as exhibit to Isold's complaint. In exchange, Rhodes agreed to a one-time payment to the musician of $30,000. Now, the musician claims Rhodes, WWE, and Fanatics have violated this deal by selling merchandise that failed to meet the agreed-upon conditions. The musician claims that WWE is selling merch with the phrase with little or no reference to Rhodes or the use of wrestling imagery, which is confusing both fans of his band and WWE fans. Now, if you guys take a look at Cody Rhodes' recent merchandise, he may have a point. He also alleged other items violated the agreement and cited various instances. In addition to covering attorney fees, Isold wants damages of at least $150,000 and treble damages up to $300,000 related to federal trademark infringement. From the headline from this, Jason, I looked at this, and You know, most of the time when you read this type of shit, it's almost like people are just going out there for a quick cash grab because Cody was now coming into prominence, popularity. He's the WWE champion. He was in the news with The Rock and WrestleMania and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is just another fucking no-name musician that I've never heard of and many people never heard of that wants a quick cash grab. That's exactly what I thought when I read the title of this news report. But after reading the article here and looking back at some of Cody's merch that WWE started out doing and then kind of veered away from, I was actually in favor of iSold here because by the looks of it, he may have something in regards to this claim that WWE Fanatics and Cody are violating this specific agreement. And if you look at the American Nightmare text, which he wanted to be at least 75% larger than the American wrestling-related imagery in the size of at least 75% larger than the American Nightmare text, it sounds like a fucking easy thing to abide by. And WWE looks like they blatantly ignored it. Does this guy have any legs to stand on here?
Well, WWE or Fanatics, whoever it was, I mean, it looks like they flat out violated the agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I have that T-shirt. It's a T-shirt. It's got like an illustration of Pharaoh the dog on it.
Yeah.
And then underneath it, it's got the words American and then Nightmare. And that, I think, is one of the items anyway that they're referring to. I mean, based on what we know, it looks like they violated the agreement. You know, they had an agreement and they fucked up. It's plain and simple. And iSold went on social media and he actually tweeted about it because he was probably getting besieged by angry wrestling fans, all the Cody fans, you know, that were coming after him with pitchforks. And this guy's like, and I wrote his tweet down here. He goes, "Listen, you fucking dolts. I already own the name. Doesn't matter who you like. They licensed it from me and then violated that agreement." It's simple as that. So I don't really know the WWE and Cody and Fanatics in this instance necessarily has a leg to stand on. You know, one thing he also mentions is this confusion in the marketplace. And you can kind of laugh at that and go, oh, what, you know, who's going to be confused between the two? It's so obvious. But you know what? If he or people who are wearing American Nightmare merch relative to the band are walking around with something that says American Nightmare,
Yeah.
you know that there's going to be wrestling fans who think, "Oh, you're Cody Rhodes, you Cody Rhodes."
Never
fan?
mind that, bro. If I'm a musician and I'm seeing American Nightmare on a shirt and I know that's not a T-shirt that my band printed up, I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I didn't put this out there. I'm pissed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it violates the terms, obviously he knew they were going to, you know, make merchandise, but again, it had to be. It's a very specific thing. That's the thing. I mean, there are very specific terms and conditions here, and it appears as if that they just willingly and knowingly violated it. So. My guess is they're going to have to pay up. It's interesting because this is not the first time that this individual here has filed a lawsuit. He had filed a lawsuit against Fall Out Boy many years ago. Apparently he's very friendly with members of the band and he was, I guess, assisting them and writing some songs or some lyrics. And in one of their songs, they sort of borrowed his lyrics and yeah, he sued them, and evidently at the time he was not doing well financially. He was living in like squat houses and became a millionaire out of it. So whatever the settlement was, it looks like it was a tidy sum. So this is not his first go around as far as the legal system is concerned, but as in that case, it sounds to me like he's got a pretty rock solid case here.
Good for him. I mean, Cody was allowed to use the American Nightmare trademark as long as the merch also blatantly said Cody Rhodes on it to make it clear that it wasn't associated with this guy's band. Doesn't really seem unreasonable as far as what he's asking for. And all they have to do going forward is design merch to include the guy's fucking name in large letters. What the fuck is that? Why is this a problem? Well, like, it's so simple to follow, yet here we are trying to cheat the system and cheat this guy out of a fucking livelihood with his band. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
It's the WWE thing, though. I mean, this is what happened. This is why they're no longer the WWF, because they had an agreement with the Panda people for a number of years. The Panda people claimed that that agreement was violated, and there was a court over in the UK that found that they were right. And WWE could have continued using the WWF name, I think, internationally. And they were like, we're not going to have one name here and another name here. So they had to change the whole name of the company because they violated the agreement. They don't give a shit. This is not the first time this company has just blatantly disregarded an agreement that they had with somebody. So, I mean, this is par for the course when it comes to WWE. This really shouldn't be all that shocking to anybody.
Sounds like this guy's going to get some money out of this, and I could see Cody wanting to put this away and put this to bed very quickly. Just give the guy whatever the fuck he wants and just move on. Make a deal with him and move on. So stupid. There's another lawsuit out here that I told Jason in the sound check before the show that I was going to read some of this because it's so fucking hilarious, and I want to get his genuine reaction on this because he didn't see this yet. There's a lawsuit that claims WWE stole creative ideas and paid hush money by AEW stars. Now, Leland Owens filed a lawsuit on September 3rd in the United States District Court of the Eastern District of Washington, alleging that WWE failed to pay him for ideas he submitted for their programming. A portion of the filing reads as follows, and I quote, "I gave the WWE ideas and never got paid. I also told Daniel Bryan at the time what I was going to do with my earnings and said ideas, and the World Wrestling Entertainment tried to get in front of it because Vince thinks of this as competition. We have a verbal agreement in which was supposed to talk about it at the time I received my payment for my ideas." That was his exact quote. Among the ideas Owens allegedly provided include a unique cage match stipulation, as well as the premium live event name Stomping Grounds. WWE's first and to date only Stomping Grounds PLE took place in June 2019 in Tacoma, Washington. No, thank you. Never again. Owens allegedly pitched ideas over Instagram to WWE CCO Paul Triple H Levesque. In addition to the alleged idea theft, Owens claims in the lawsuit that Daniel Bryan, now Bryan Danielson in AEW, and Mercedes Moné, who was formerly known as Sasha Banks in WWE, sent him a $100,000 check described as hush money. This payment was intended to keep Owens quiet after an inappropriate comment about Owens' daughter was allegedly made by Stephanie McMahon, the filing adds. McMahon stepped down from her role in 2013, but has made sporadic appearances with the company, including at SummerSlam last month. WWE has not publicly responded to the suit at this time. Bro, I mean, I don't know what type of shit he was sniffing, bro, or snorting, but I mean, this is
the same guy. You're telling me this is the same guy from the previous lawsuit that we discussed a number of months ago, who was seeking, I believe, if I remember, it was whatever this means, all ships and plunder.
Yes.
From WWE.
Yes.
Okay. So now hush money allegedly was paid. Sasha Banks is involved.
Yep.
Is the FBI involved? And maybe the CIA and the NSA? And
I don't know, man.
Are we really, I mean, how deep does this go? I mean, this sounds like this is a really, like a conspiracy that's going on here with this.
I don't know, man. This guy must have fucking had a great night the night before, fell asleep, and had some wicked dreams, man. I don't know.
Isn't he in jail? Isn't this guy still behind bars?
I don't know. That's a good question. I thought he was. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought he was in jail. That's why I asked you, are you sure this is the same person?
Yes.
Because I know that initial suit, I think, was paused at his request while he worked out his legal situation. So now you're telling me that this has a further suit has been filed here.
Yeah. Crazy.
He's keeping very busy, I guess, from behind the scenes, behind bars, because I just don't. I don't know what. I don't know how to respond to something like. I'm sure.
What does WWE do about this? What the fuck they think about
when they're done laughing? Yeah, when they're done fucking belly laughing, they're trying to figure out how to get the shit tossed out. That's what they're trying to do. They don't have Jerry McDevitt anymore, so I don't know who the go-to lawyer would be in this case. I know it's not Stephen P. New. He's busy with the other lawsuit against AEW. I don't know. I mean, how do you take something like this seriously? This just comes across to me as just a gigantic waste of time and resources. And I don't know. It just seems more like an annoyance than anything else. It should easily be smacked down, I would think, but I don't know how serious he is about pursuing this. I mean, don't you need money if you're going to take this all the way? I mean, does he have the funds to keep this battle going?
I would say no.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. So I'm gonna say this goes nowhere. But you know what it reminds me of? Remember that lawsuit that was filed by Raka Khan, former TNA star Raka Khan, who dated Kurt Angle for a time many years ago. A few years back, she filed this gigantic, I think it was like a class action lawsuit against. I mean, I don't even know how many people. I mean, she filed a lawsuit against
the Rock in that one.
The Rock was in that one. I believe that she sued the state of Texas. I believe she sued her, like, whatever the big electric utility. Oh, in New York, Con Edison. She sued Con Edison, which is the big electric utility here in New York City. I mean, literally, like, Home Depot was sued. I mean, it was like the most random collection. Jim Cornette was sued. I mean, I don't even know how
your name may have been in there, man. I don't know.
I may have been. I didn't go through the whole list. I hope not. I mean, you may have been on there. Who knows? But ultimately, I believe that she either withdrew it or it got thrown out. But man, it doesn't take much to file these frivolous suits here. So I can't say that this is the weirdest one. That still takes the cake as the weirdest one. But this one's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, that's a good second place one for sure.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. That's right. Chris Benoit was also cited as a defendant. Which is yes. I don't know how she came to that, but. Yes, he was also sued 15 years after he.
She did one of them seances with one of them Ghost Adventures people, and she summoned his spirit, and then that's what she told him from the grave.
Well, it had something to do with kidnapping her and her kids. I mean, it was wild. Like that again, the wildest suit that I've ever heard. Yeah, Kurt may have been in there too. I think Kurt may have been on that list.
There are some crazy fucking people out there, man. It's crazy. But none crazier than Mr. McMahon. The Netflix documentary that I'm very excited about, September 25th, is the release of episode 1. Or are they releasing all of them at the same time or just one at a time?
I believe it's all at once.
Okay. Nice binge-watching weekend extravaganza happening. So the Netflix doc is said to be an absolute double shovel burial of Vince McMahon. And some people apparently in WWE are not happy about it. Now, I need to preface this because this is all coming from Keeping It 100, Conan, and Conrad Thompson, and Disco Inferno was cited in this. We know how credible he is, man. Oh, geez.
Yeah, let's leave him out of this.
Yeah. So Conrad says he's heard that the documentary will be a burial of Vince McMahon, and some people in WWE are not happy about it. Thompson said it's a hit piece that they don't like. Conan said, yeah, because Bill Simmons is doing it. He does what he wants. Bill Simmons is talking to David Shoemaker and Dave Meltzer. It's an absolute double shovel burial. Now, Conrad Thompson said he's had to reconcile, and like with Chris Benoit, he's had to separate the artist from the real person. On Vince, Thompson said if you read the original report, certainly it was slanted to read a certain way. Either way, it's hard to read and not be a little taken aback. Now it's like, okay, not everybody is all good or bad. He created some real magic for millions of people, including myself, but he wasn't always a great guy. If you go back and look up almost all of our heroes, whether they're in entertainment, music, or whatever, those folk disappoint you. But that doesn't mean you have to give up enjoying their previous work. Thompson says he can understand people who can't go back and watch things from the past because of people like Vince McMahon being a part of that history, etc., but it's not his experience. Jim Ross also mentioned something about the Netflix Vince McMahon documentary. He said on his latest Grilling JR podcast that no one was closer to Vince than me at certain times in my tenure. Right-hand man type material. I never got a call to be a part of the doc. Maybe they didn't feel like I was viable enough to follow up. I would have been happy to do an interview if I had been approached, but that didn't occur, and I'm not sure why, because I know every secret, every corner, the whole 9 yards. My feelings aren't hurt because I wasn't involved in it. It might be better that I wasn't because it will make it easier to watch because a lot of us hate seeing ourselves on television, says Jim Ross. I don't know, Jason. I don't know what you feel about this. I don't think anybody here wants to see anything good about Vince McMahon. I think everybody's just really kind of zoning in on all the dirt. They want all the dirt and the drama. Like, we all know what Vince did for the business. We all know the good that Vince did for the business. I mean, the reason why Jason and I and everybody in this community is here is because of Vince McMahon. I mean, he created the platform in WWE for us to talk about it. But I'd be lying, bro, if I tell you, absolute double shovel burial. I take it with a grain of salt coming from where it's coming from, but I hope it's legitimately that. I'm looking forward to seeing as much bad on him as possible because I genuinely believe he deserves it. That's all I'll say on it. Karma.
Yeah. I mean, all I wanted when I heard about this was for the things that need to be covered to be covered. And with Vince, you know what those things would be, all the different controversies. So when I saw here that they were talking about the steroid trial and the Ring Boy scandal, I said good, because you can't tell the Vince McMahon story without telling that aspect of things. For all the good as a promoter and business-wise, there's a lot of bad. You know, there's a lot of slime, and there's a lot of slime that I'm sure will not be covered. But like Rita Chatterton was mentioned, and the Donahue show, like that stuff apparently will be covered as well. So I kept my expectations low anyway. And my expectations are still, I'm keeping them low going into this, but that was very encouraging. And if there are people in WWE who are upset and think it's a double shovel burial, then good. Because there's enough dirt there, it could be a triple shovel burial. Double shovel doesn't even sound good enough. So that's encouraging to hear. And if there are people in that company who are genuinely upset about that, Bruce, if there are people who are upset by that, tough shit. Because that's part of his story and his legacy now. And they don't have any control over this project. It's not a WWE produced project. I'm curious to see how the final product turns out, but that doesn't bother me at all. I was more worried about the opposite, that it would be a puff piece.
Yeah.
And they would gloss over things that really need to be addressed. It sounds like they're not just going to gloss over them. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad Jim Ross is not a part of it. Looking at his statement and reading his statement, I'm glad he's not a part of it, because I think a lot of people, if he was a part of it, would probably associate Jim Ross to knowing what he knew back in the day, never said anything about it, and they'll probably throw him under the bus and try and cancel him as well. And I'm glad he's not a part of it. Whatever he knows, he can say whatever he wants at whatever time he wants. If he wants to keep it with him until he fucking goes into the grave, so be it. But if he was on that piece, I could see nothing but bad coming out of it for Jim Ross. So I'm glad he's not a part of it.
And Jim Ross got dragged into this whole AEW lawsuit.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Not to get into that whole thing, but as that news was breaking, he was recording with Conrad. Of course, Conrad brought it up and said, "What do you think?" Even though, I know you're an AEW contracted employee, so you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but like, what are your thoughts? And Jim Ross just chimed in with his thoughts and said he thought it was a frivolous lawsuit. You know what you're getting when you sign your contract. I mean, not that surprising coming from the guy who ran talent relations there for so many years. And that's why Stephen P. New attacked him and said that, you're paid to do nothing in AEW. Yeah, he was like attacking Jim Ross and said that it's not a frivolous lawsuit. So anyway, his name got dragged into this nonsense this week.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, Jim Ross is... listen, I love JR. I don't know why people drag him or try to drag him through the mud. I always hated when Vince used to fucking just toy with him on Raw, take his hat, fucking just bully him. I hated it. Jim Ross has got a soft spot in my heart, man. I hate when I see shit like that regarding him. And I'm glad he was on the pay-per-view on Saturday night. He sounded very, very good. I know you and I and a lot of people were concerned when he did that sit-down with Swerve. He just looked old and like he shouldn't have been there, but he sounded good on Saturday night, so good for him. Hopefully he's getting better from whatever is ailing him, for sure.
Yeah, he's had some health issues this year. I know he had pneumonia, and he had some other issues.
He fell again.
He's fallen multiple times. But it wasn't just the Swerve one. He did one with Bryan Danielson, a sit-down interview. He looked very gaunt.
Yeah.
He sounded very weak. And it was concerning, but I, said during my review for All Out, I said that he sounded like he was back in form for those last two matches. Like, it sounded like the times that we've heard JR on his A game in AEW, that was one of those nights.
Yeah, and the setting actually set him up to be on top of his A game, because I thought it was quite the moment. We'll get into that in just a little bit, as we now will enter some AEW discussion here. Checking the chat. Before we do that, we got 1,500 in here. Thank you very much, guys. I know it's a busy night with the debate going on between the two presidential candidates, and NXT was on tonight, and apparently NXT was a fire show that apparently everybody says I have to go back and watch. We'll see what happens there. But thank you guys for joining us. Super chats are still open. Get them on in. Jason and I will hang out at the end of the show and continue to hit that thumbs up, please. We got 550 likes. I love if we could get to 750 tonight before we end episode 65 of TNT. So Tony Khan, at the end of the All Out media scrum, mentioned that AEW is set to create a shockwave that will be felt throughout professional wrestling. Nobody knew what he meant by that. It is in typical TK coding. AEW did so on September 6th, trademark, or at least file for trademark. AEW Shockwave for entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests. It's unclear exactly how the promotion will use this trademark. Now, while speaking with the media at All Out, which had various newsworthy moments coming out of the show, we'll get into that. One of them being Jon Moxley in the plastic bag over Bryan Danielson, and then obviously the main event with Swerve and Hangman Page and the whole needle fiasco and the cinder block fiasco. Tony Khan said this, and I quote, "I think it would be safe to say that AEW is set to create a shockwave throughout all of professional wrestling. I think people are going to be talking about what they saw at All Out, which was a huge business success for us, did really, really well at the Now Arena, big sellout show, and was also really well on pay-per-view. I think it bodes well and creates anticipation for Wednesday's Dynamite on TBS. We'll continue to send that shockwave throughout the world of professional wrestling here in AEW." A lot of nothing from boss man Tony Khan. I mean, he just... it's the same fucking answer every question. That's great. Yeah, we'll look forward to Wednesday on Dynamite at TBS. Yeah, sure thing.
Everything's great.
Everything's great. Nothing seems to be worrisome at all in AEW, but everybody else seems to think so. So we get this news, Jason, with Shockwave, and people are now running with rumors that this is a new show or potential new pay-per-view for AEW. Nobody knows what's going on. We don't have any idea what this means or what they're going to use this trademark for. Then Fightful puts up this report. AEW, Warner Brothers, and Fox. AEW is obviously closing on our new TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. Tony Khan says that there's a 90% chance that it could be announced within the next month. Now, whether that's at Grand Slam, probably not, or the 5-year anniversary show, which takes place in the beginning of October, it seems like a good place to do that. So who knows when that's going to be announced. Speculation has run rampant over the weekend about a new AEW program appearing on another network. To be clear, Fightful have heard that the Warner Brothers AEW deal is very close to being done, but hasn't been completed as of yet. When there were rumors of an announcement being made at All Out, Warner Brother reps simply told us that talks are ongoing and amicable. Both sides expect the deal to be done and the partnership to continue for years to come. Now Fox. Fox just finished up a 5-year run with WWE, and they may not be completely out of the pro wrestling realm. Thought the relationship briefly soured with WWE before Vince McMahon's exit. Fox had long looked at bringing on additional pro wrestling content. Years ago, they nearly landed MLW for Tubi, which resulted in a lawsuit. In recent months, Fightful reported that they've also been interested in a seasonal wrestling program for Tubi. There has been discussion backstage in and within the TV world that select AEW content could be headed there. After the Shockwave trademark emerged, there was internal speculation in both worlds that a new program could be headed to the Fox family of networks, whether it be Fox itself, Tubi, FS1, or anywhere else. FX is another one. One source close to Fox had indicated to Fightful and Beyond the Bell's Andrew Zarian that there were no troubles in moving ads for wrestling, but that the cost of SmackDown could cut into that quite a bit and that Fox would be interested in keeping wrestling as a part of their programming with the right deal. This would come as a major change for AEW as they added Collision to their current Warner Brothers deal. Exclusivity was worked in, which is why AEW Dark no longer exists. We're told that regardless of what deal is reached, the exclusivity clause runs through the end of the year, but that was part of Warner Brothers Discovery discussions that could see a return of non-exclusive programming. At least one source near Fox side did claim that the two sides had contact, but when reaching out to Fox reps, they did not return our request for comment or insight. Neither AEW or Fox have confirmed these talks. And Fightful says it's worth noting that we haven't even confirmed Shockwave to be a show, but there is discussion of an AEW show moving to Fox. Nothing more than a rumor. Nobody knows what's going on. And then we heard, I seen something today on social media right before we went live. Ibu put out a tweet from Russell Pierce, Ibu, that Shockwave is internally being discussed as a 1-hour show on FS1. Take that as you want. Nobody knows. It's nothing more than a rumor. My question is, Jason, we don't know what the landscape of AEW is going to look like. Obviously, Dynamite is going to remain on Wednesdays on TBS. We don't know if Dynamite's going to be getting a third hour. We really don't. I don't want to put it out there in existence and will it into existence, but we don't know if that's going to come with the third hour or not. We don't know. We don't know how the reshuffling of their content is going to be. We don't know if Rampage is still going to be a thing. We don't know what the landscape for Collision is going to look like. And now you want to add supposedly the rumor is another 1 hour show, Shockwave. What night of the week it's going to take place on, we don't know. Another 1 hour show on top of all of the other shows that they have. 2 hours of Dynamite, 1 hour of Rampage on Friday, 2 hours of Collision on Saturday, sometimes 3 as they mix it with Battle of the Belts. I mean, are we looking at fucking overkill here, bro? Because Rampage is a nothing show. I think you, me, and everybody else knows that Rampage is a nothing show. Collision, since Punk left, has been a nothing show, and I mean that wholeheartedly. I don't watch Collision. On a given week, I maybe watch Collision. I would say on a monthly basis, I'll watch nothing more than highlights on YouTube. I don't watch unless there's a major match that they really get me to go out there and watch. Dynamite on most weeks is okay. I mean, they've had great shows this week. They've had absolute stinkers this year. And we know that they have all the resources and capability to book a great show on every single Wednesday. But adding another show to that, what is it going to look like? How is it going to be different than Rampage? How is it going to be different than Collision? Is it going to be a true B show that we thought Rampage was going to be? Then we thought Collision was going to be the true B show. None of these shows come off as a true B show when they need a true B show that leads from Dynamite into whatever is next. They need their SmackDown. I don't know if this is going to be that, but isn't this fucking overkill?
If they have the ability to make a deal with Fox to bring a show, and we don't know if it would be on Fox proper or if it would be, you mentioned FS1, which doesn't have the kind of visibility that Fox does. But if they can make a deal with Fox, you make that deal. Because any kind of exposure like that you can get for your company can only be a good thing. But in a perfect world, you would do so at the same time that you get rid of Rampage, because I just don't see the need for Rampage. Now, we don't know what Rampage, where that falls in these negotiations and these conversations with Warner Brothers Discovery. They may want to keep Rampage. They may be happy with Rampage. Rampage, like you said, to me, it's a waste. Look, it does get face time for some of the lower card guys, but if you have the ability to have a show on an FS1 or on a Fox, let's say it's an hour-long show, then I don't see that as being a negative. Can it end up being overkill? It could be. It could be overexposure. But I mean, these discussions and these conversations have seemingly come out of nowhere. I mean, a week ago, was anybody talking about AEW and Fox?
No.
Working out a deal? I mean, it would have sounded insane to me. So if there's anything to these conversations, I mean, that could be a real feather in their cap as far as getting more eyeballs on the product. So if I'm Tony Khan, yeah, I would make that deal, but I would do so and then look at the existing programming I have and figure out, do we need this? Collision's not going anywhere. Rampage would feel to me like the sacrificial lamb. But we don't know where Ring of Honor falls in this. Is Ring of Honor going to be a part of this new media rights deal that they're working out? The way Tony Khan's been talking, it sounds like they've had conversations about Ring of Honor.
And that it would be an AEW entity because, I mean, it's more obviously attractive with the AEW branding behind it than Ring of Honor.
And Tony Khan has said that. He said he's admitted that they may have to consider rebranding it AEW Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And that's fine. To me, that makes sense. And he sees the numbers. The fact that Tony Khan said that tells you that he knows. Yeah. Like, he understands, like, what we've been doing isn't working as far as Ring of Honor and the exposure I've tried to get for them. It may be to our benefit to just kind of slap the AEW name on there. And again, it's not unlike NXT. WWE NXT is how it's listed in the TV guide, right? That's how they list it, because they want those WWE initials there. So I don't have an issue with that, but maybe they look at it and go, okay, maybe that Rampage slot could be used as a Ring of Honor slot. People have been saying that for a long time, but you couldn't just convert it to a Ring of Honor show because you wanted to. That's not what Warner Brothers Discovery, contracted with you for. It's supposed to be an AEW show. So a lot of it just boils down to what this Warner Brothers Discovery deal ends up looking like. What's in the deal? What's involved? Is there Ring of Honor involvement? Is Rampage going to go away? Is Rampage still going to be there? They're going to rebrand it. So I can't even fully answer the question without knowing what that deal looks like as far as being like, oh, this is overexposure. It may be. But if I had the ability to make a deal with Fox, now that they're no longer in bed with WWE, and even if it's Tubi, Tubi's a pretty popular streaming service, and a lot of people use it. I don't use Tubi. I don't find myself using Tubi nearly as often as I use Pluto, for example. I love Pluto TV. And Pluto TV has a lot of wrestling channels. I think they just launched a Wow Women of Wrestling channel. They've got a TNA channel on there.
Sounds like something Ring of Honor would be fit perfect on.
Well, that's maybe where Tubi comes in. But Tubi, I think, is a Fox owned property, I believe. So if they could work out something even for Tubi, people may look at that and go, okay, it's not Fox. But it's something, because it does get used by a lot of people. So there's a lot of moving parts here. Evidently, exclusivity is not part of these discussions they're having now with Warner Brothers Discovery. If they're allowed to have conversations with Fox, that's a change. Up until now, it was an exclusive arrangement, with them and WBD. So this would be different. It's not a bad idea to have irons in different fires, to have agreements and relationships with multiple entities instead of just one. WWE does. They're still in bed with NBC Universal. They had their deal with Fox. Now they have a deal with Netflix. Now they're moving to CW. I mean, they're everywhere. Instead of just putting all their eggs in one basket, they've got 3 or 4 different partners. That's not a bad thing. So I think that could be a plus for Tony Khan. But we still have to get some clarity on what this big media rights deal looks like. And I do wonder if we might get the announcement around the time of that 5-year anniversary Dynamite. That would seem to me.
Yeah, it sounds like the perfect place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe put a press release out earlier in the day, and then they can formally announce something on the show that night. But Tony Khan was asked about that at the media scrum. He said, somebody said to him, if you had to put a percentage on it, how likely is it that we are going to get a deal announced in the next month? And because he said 100%, like, the deal's going to get done and be announced. But he said probably 90% in these next 4 weeks that it gets announced. That would seem like the likely, that first week in October would seem like the likely time for it.
Yeah, I seen clips of TK out. I believe it was before either Dynamite or Collision, before All Out, and he was very excited, and he did the money thing with his fingers and said that AEW is going to be with TBS and TNT and Warner Brothers for a very long time, and he was very excited and over the top. So something is brewing. We don't know when it will be announced. I think that 5-year anniversary show is the right place to do it. But, there's a lot of misinformation out there, Jason, about how much money they're going to be making and what the terms are going to look like, and everybody's got their own piece to say in regards. Nobody knows shit. But there was something that floated around, and I've seen a lot of people, a lot of content creators in the community run with this, because any inkling of, we got to shit on AEW and their TV deal that we all know is coming, and you're all going to be very upset when it drops. But this Andrew Shapados, don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, he writes for The Blaze. He said this last night, and bookmarked it specifically for this show tonight. He says this in regards to the TV deal between Warner Brothers and AEW. Sources close to AEW Warner Brothers Discovery deal tells me AEW was on their back foot. On top of Warner's already having about 25% from the original deal, AEW likely had to give up more equity to get the deal done. AEW apparently didn't receive any other third-party offers, obviously, which hurt their negotiations. Ratings have cooled off. They have. He's right about that. Whether or not that's from the product or recent controversial moves remains to be seen. And I've reached out to AEW for comment, and we'll update with responses. So this sounds like more of a hit piece or a hit tweet than anything. I don't think this guy has any fucking sources or knows anybody in regards to this thing. But he does got one thing right. He says the ratings have cooled off. Whether or not that's from the product or recent controversial moves, yes, it's from the product. The product is very cold. The product is hot when it wants to be. But, I mean, whatever deal is in place is in place. It has nothing to do with the ratings. They're going to make their money regardless. So,
yeah,
this was a bullshit tweet.
It was a bullshit tweet, and I don't know what rock he crawled out from under. Clearly, he does not know anything about the AEW product. He posted some follow-up tweet like it was some revelatory thing that, Nyla Rose is I forgot exactly. I think he posted like a screenshot of maybe from her Wikipedia page or something. And about Nyla being transgender or whatever, because he had no idea. Because he doesn't know a fucking thing about the AEW product. And the belief, and I tend to believe this. The belief is that this was planted by people that are in the WWE TKO sphere. Because what they tend to do, and I do believe this happens, is they will co-opt certain people to amplify things that they want to be amplified in the social media sphere. That was the situation with the Cheese Man, you know, and every time he posts the Fast Nationals, except on those weeks where Rampage or Collision actually didn't do a bad number, and then the Fast Nationals don't get reported. So what WWE does is they will co-opt certain media people to place stories that are intended to make AEW look bad. I do believe that this happens, and I believe that this is likely one of those situations. Evidently, this person, Andrew, whatever his name is, has contacts or is friendly with people in the UFC realm and TKO. I don't think that's a coincidence. He never reported anything on AEW in the past, to my knowledge. I searched, I tried to find something, nothing. Just one day, here's a tweet with some information about AEW that happens to be negative, as if he covers them on a regular basis. He doesn't. It was a planted story. There's no truth or validity to any of it. I mean, he makes a statement about how the ratings have gone down. Yeah, no shit. Anybody can figure that out. Just look at the numbers. We don't need Andrew to be tweeting about it. So, like you said, there's nothing to this. There are people who will report accurately about AEW, and it may be negative. But at least there are people who will vet and do the research and have reported on them before, whether it's Fightful or whether it's Post Wrestling or whether it's PW Insider or whether it's an actual professional, business outlet. There are certain media sources that I look at as reliable, and then when you see a random tweet from somebody you've never heard of before, the first thing you should do is say, who the fuck are you? And maybe I'm going to try to double and triple check this and see if somebody else reports it. Instead of doing what a lot of people on social media did, which is take it and quote tweet it and run with it like it's legitimate news, because like you said, anything to shit on AEW and anything to shit on the TV deal, I mean, they're going to be first in line. So this was a bullshit story from a bullshit source, and there really isn't anything else to say about it beyond that.
No, it's a common thing. It's been actually way too common this year, especially since the All Out or Brawl Out situation with Punk. I feel like every time there's an AEW pay-per-view, there's some negative story, whether it's minor or semi big, to come out. It's always negative right before AEW's got to do something on pay-per-view, or in this case now with the TV rights deal, is going to be more negative stories like this, more negative reporters coming out speaking their piece. And I do believe that what you said is factually correct. I do think that people are paid off from the other side to make AEW look less than, and I wouldn't put it past some of the fucking journalists in the community that they're paid under the table from AEW as well to make WWE look better and AEW look small. It's just the way the business. But as far as this guy, he got blazed, no pun intended, in the comment section from a lot of different people. And Sean Ross Sapp put out something saying that this guy is in no way, shape, or form a wrestling journalist. So he has nothing to do with the wrestling industry or wrestling journalism in general. So the fact that he's saying something is new to him and new to everybody. So fuck this guy. So it is what it is. I guess we should talk about All Out, huh?
I think that's a good thing to end on here.
Yeah.
We may as well finally touch on this very polarizing
show. Yes.
The other day.
I got the results pulled up here. We'll briefly go over the results and our opinion of what happened here. We had the open of the show. First of all, I think on the pre-show, didn't they set up Mariah? They set up Mariah and...
Did you see the pre-show? Did you watch any of the pre-show?
I do not. I usually tune in about 15 minutes before the top of the hour, but I did see Mariah May and Queen Aminata and Sky Blue come out in Chicago.
Yeah, I thought that segment was absolute garbage.
It was
I don't know. I mean, it was a fucking terrible segment. And they go out there, and I understand why they wanted Sky Blue out there. She's from Chicago. She got hurt. She broke her ankle about a month and a half ago, so I got no problem with them giving her some FaceTime. I love Mariah May. She's doing the gimmick now where she teases that she's going to have her championship celebration, but then, this city is not worth it. She's done this a couple of times now. But just the dialogue that, they were, spewing insults back and forth at each other. Some of it got a reaction. Some of it fell flat. But I'm just like, I'm listening to this and I'm watching this and I'm like, this just feels like amateur hour here. Like this segment is garbage.
Something that Mariah said, saying that people in Chicago don't know what it's like to be blown, and then Sky Blue said something along the lines of, "Yeah, you would know something about that." I mean, that's what we move on to from Tony Storm and Mariah May. This fucking cheap garbage. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it just felt to me like I don't know that they have a plan for Mariah May. Like,
No.
do they know where they're going with her? It just doesn't feel that way to me.
No.
Although I guess now we'll get maybe a match between Mariah and Queen Aminata, which whatever, it's fine as a TV match.
It's booked for Wednesday.
So it is official for Wednesday.
Yes.
All right. Because that read to me like a Rampage match more than anything. Has Queen Aminata been on Dynamite at all?
No. Collision, she's been on Collision.
But never on Dynamite.
Not to my recent knowledge, no. I mean, it's not a championship match on Wednesday. It's an eliminator match. I don't know why we just can't do a regular one-on-one match.
I see. Okay. So it's an eliminator match.
It's an eliminator, yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying, you have Queen Aminata on the show. I thought they were just going to put her in a championship match. This is at least a little bit better, but I don't think Queen Aminata has actually been in the ring yet on Dynamite, so it's a little weird how she's in the ring now with the champ, but I guess that's how these eliminator matches go. But yeah, that the segment was a means to set that match up. I thought the segment was garbage. So the less said about that, the better. But then we got into the good stuff, which is what opened the show.
Yeah,
the main card.
MJF and Danny Garcia opened the show. The match started out with MJF coming out first, and then obviously Danny Garcia attacking before the bell rung. He didn't even make an entrance. He just came from the crowd or underneath the ring, which absolutely needed to start that way. It's one of those matches, like I said, in the cage match. It's like you don't want to start this blood feud, this hot rivalry with a collar and elbow tie-up. So they started that.
Strength.
Yeah.
Let's do the old test of strength.
Fucking ridiculous. Yeah. So, yeah, they got that right. It was a great match. I thought this was one of Danny Garcia's. I don't know. You could take a stab at it, saying that this was probably his best match. His work with Bryan, whichever way you want to go. This was a great match for him. Now the thing with this, Jason, is MJF, and I may mention this on Saturday. It's difficult to look at MJF lose it all in and then go into All Out and have him just theoretically losing a second straight pay-per-view so close back to back. It's not the type of guy you want to do that with, but if he loses, I mean, he's fucking bulletproof. He's going to come back and do what he's got to do anyway. But MJF won this match. And Danny Garcia, according to Ibu of Wrestle Purists, was the original plan was for him to win this match, which I think the storyline actually should have called for him to win, but he didn't. Now, the reason they did that is, according to him, they gave the win to MJF because at this point in time, Danny Garcia still has not inked his name to an AEW contract. So they booked MJF to win, but they kept Danny Garcia looking strong even in the post-match where he walked out on his own after giving MJF the pile driver. What did you make of that? Did you agree with the outcome? Were you shocked that MJF won? Talk to me.
No, because when I did my predictions, I had MJF winning the match. Just simply for the reason that I would not have beaten him twice in a row in 2 weeks. And it felt also like, even though, I mean, you could argue that this maybe felt like a blow-off, you could have carried this into a second match. So having MJF win the first one, Garcia win the second one would have been fine. If he hasn't signed his contract, then I get it, because you want to protect yourself. If there's still a chance he might bounce, you don't want him beating MJF, of all people, and then leaving and going to NXT.
Yeah.
And being a mid-carder in NXT. I mean, that just makes you look just Bush League. So I get it, as far as protecting yourself, and they still let him get one over on MJF at the end. Apparently, MJF is going to be gone for a while. I think he's filming a movie role, so we may not see him for a while. So, I mean, as far as what they did, I was fine with it. I just thought the finish was very flat. The match itself was very good, and then the finish, it was MJF's MO, the low blow and then cheating to win. To me, that part of the match is what really was like, ugh. It just was very underwhelming and fell flat to me. But I had no issue with them doing the post-match attack. Let's Danny get some of his heat back.
Yeah, I thought it was a great match. Great way to open the show. I thought they started right. And hopefully MJF is not off TV too long, because with him off TV and Swerve supposedly being off TV, selling the effects of the steel cage match, it's two major names off of their television show, on top of Adam Cole and Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe and whoever else may be missing, so.
Jay White,
yes.
Wardlow.
Ricky Starks.
Sky Blue,
yeah. I mean, you got a whole fucking whole other roster.
Got a whole roster. But their bench is so deep, they still have plenty of guys.
They do. It's going to be interesting to see who they book to take those spots and maybe give the ball and have them run with it. So hopefully it's good television from this point on, booking on into the 5-year anniversary show. But Bucks, tag team titles. They defended against Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Fine match for what it was. It was made on the go-home Dynamite. I didn't really have any emotional investment in this, just like everything else the Young Bucks have done over the last 5 months. Haven't done a thing that I gave a shit about since the Sting retirement, where they wrestled Sting and Darby Allin at Revolution. It's been just a downward trajectory for the Young Bucks all throughout 2024. Jason, it was a fine match. I don't think these guys are capable of having a bad match, but I mean, I could sit here and talk for another 30 minutes on why the AEW Tag Team division is just not what it used to be. It's a shell of its former self. I feel like the titles are being held hostage by the Young Bucks. I need something different. I need something fresh to sink my teeth into. Right now, this tag team division ain't doing it, and the Bucks as champions are not doing it for me.
Well, you might get that with your gauntlet match tomorrow night. Maybe they're going to try to shake things up, which is the only reason that I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, even though I think they are abusing the concept. And I like the Casino Gauntlet concept, but they are definitely beating it into the ground. But this will be the first tag team one they do. So already you have a lot of people wondering, Motor City Machine Guns, or is there going to be an 11th hour play to keep the Lucha Bros? Maybe they show up in the gauntlet. I don't see that, but these gauntlets always have some surprises. So if it wasn't the Machine Guns, what kind of surprise might there be in that gauntlet match tomorrow night? There's going to be at least a couple.
It's got to be. I mean, it's the aftermath show from All Out. I would think that he has a surprise up his sleeve. I mean, it would be pretty boring if the grizzled young veterans won the fucking gauntlet match as they teased going after the Bucks in the tag team titles. Maybe the Maximum Male Models win it. Who knows?
Well, you know what? I guarantee you they'll be in it.
Yeah.
I would imagine they'll end up in it, but usually, he likes to save at least one, if not one or two big surprises. So a lot of the chatter around Motor City Machine Guns a couple months ago was WWE, and then it's been radio silent ever since. So that would be a surprise to see them pop up in that gauntlet tomorrow night. But as far as this match, Claudio and Yuta are not a regular team, and they're already trios champions. So did anybody really expect them to walk out with the gold here? No. Match itself, well worked, but I just couldn't bring myself to really care.
No.
There's just nothing there for me to invest in. So while the match itself was fine, I can't say that it did much for me.
Bucks retain the titles as you would expect. Will Ospreay and Pac for the International Championship.
Juan in the chat says FTR is going to win the gauntlet. Oh, God.
Juan, I swear to God, man.
Oh my God!
Can you imagine? What would that be? The sixth time that they wrestle each other?
Well, they'll just add a stipulation. I mean, we've had a Texas death match. We've had a lights out unsanctioned steel cage match. So what stipulation can they do?
We've never had a dog collar match with the Bucks, pal. Yeah, sure.
Oh, well, okay. There you go. Maybe a 2 out of 3 falls, dog collar, unsanctioned lights out, gauntlet. They'll come up with some kind of concept.
Ridiculous. Pac and Ospreay, speaking of ridiculous, two of the best pro wrestlers on the face of the planet. Everybody was excited about this coming on in. Pac wanted his Wembley moment. He got his Wembley moment. He won the trios titles with the Blackpool Combat Club, but he wanted Will Ospreay, did Pac, and the International Championship. They gave that match to MJF, and he got his wish here at All Out, and it was definitely worth the wait. No matter where this was going to take place, it was going to be a banger. Jason, you said this was the video game match of the night. I thought this was tremendous. It will probably go into the top 10 of best matches of the year, and Ospreay will probably be a part of 7 of those. The guy's just incredible. There is nothing like a Will Ospreay match. Carmelo calls himself him. Will Ospreay is him. He is just unbelievable at what he does. Still the international champion. I actually thought that, and some people actually told me on social media while I was tweeting during the match, that it didn't really vibe well between I don't know what the fuck these people were watching. It didn't start off the way that they anticipated. I thought that they went about this very strategically. They didn't start doing everything towards the end until maybe 9 minutes before the end of the match. They started off relatively slow. They didn't really go too crazy. They kind of sped it up as you would watch the match. They got faster and faster and crazier. But in the end, I mean, with that last 7 or 8 minutes or so, I mean, what these guys did was just mind-numbingly fucking crazy. And Will Ospreay won the match and retained the championship. Pac, underrated as all hell. I hope to see him in a major role. Hopefully he stays healthy on AEW television, man. The guy deserves it. I hope he gets another major moment for himself. He's just amazing. I'm glad to see him back on television. This was a great match.
Yeah, I don't know what people were talking about as far as the pacing and everything. I mean, in the opening minutes of the match, you had Pac do a Sky Twister press to the floor, and then Ospreay came back and did one, and Fosbury flop, all these big moves. So it was exactly the kind of match I expected and I was hoping to see from these two. I do wish that Will would not constantly just be dropped on the fucking top of his head. That is a problem. I mean, it's just, every bump he takes, and it's on the apron, and he gets folded up on the back of his neck. So the unfortunate part of that is, as great as he is, it's going to definitely shorten his career, and I'm sure he knows that, and that's the risk he's willing to take. I think it's stupid, but the match itself was excellent. I called it it was an incredible spot fest. I mean, that's what it was. It was one spot after another, a major jaw drop. These two together are able to go out there and do things that most people are simply not able to do, because they're special performers. And Will Ospreay winning, not a surprise. Obviously, he just won the belt back at Wembley Stadium. They were not going to take it off of him. Pac already has a championship anyway. He's 1/3 of the Trios champions. But also, we know the match they're building towards. Yeah. And it's not Pac against Ricochet. It's Will Ospreay against Ricochet. And I actually think that doing it in the next month or two would be too soon. I feel like that's a match that needs to be held off until maybe Revolution. Or even Double or Nothing. I mean, if they
you want to hold off that late?
Well, I was just going to say they have more pay-per-views now. So Revolution, Dynasty.
I would say Wrestle Dream is the earliest, but Full Gear would be spot on, I think.
You want to go to it that quickly?
If they give me a proper story, yeah. I mean, well, he's got to win matches first. That's the thing.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, should he not be involved in something else before he eventually makes his way to Ospreay? I would agree. Full Gear at the earliest. I wouldn't do it at Wrestle Dream. So Full Gear at the earliest, but I'm thinking more like Revolution.
In a perfect world, yeah, as long as they give him some story.
Yeah.
Some major wins. Maybe a win over Pac. I'd like to see that match take place. I know you and I predicted that at All In.
Yeah, I would love to see those two back in the ring together, and you could build something around that, especially now Pac is going to be part of a newly healed Blackpool Combat Club, and have Ricochet go up against him before he has to get to Ospreay. I don't see a reason to rush into things here. I mean, they're already teasing it, so you don't want to hold off too long. I don't think Revolution is overly long, but you're probably right. It probably will end up happening at Full Gear. That probably is the place for it, and maybe we get more than one match out of it. Maybe the rematch is at Revolution with some kind of a stipulation. But this is the match that both these guys have wanted. Will Ospreay was practically begging Ricochet to sign with AEW. He wanted this match so badly. So he's going to get his wish, and I'm sure when it happens, it'll be every bit as polarizing as it was years ago. So
looking forward to it. Hopefully Ricochet starts to pick up the momentum. I think he's got he's got one singles match under his belt. It's soon, but
he's got a win over, was it Kyle Fletcher?
Yeah.
Who did? Yeah, it was Kyle
Fletcher. Yeah. And we'll see. This match was great, and a lot of people uttered the same sentiment. How is anyone gonna follow that? Well, it's tough to follow Will Ospreay on any night, period. But the ladies, they were looking at a death spot here, but they fucking killed it. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. Statlander and Willow Nightingale, they had the very difficult task of following two unbelievable talents in Ospreay and Pac, and they kept the crowd going, energized, and they were into it every bit of the way. Willow and Chris Statlander in a street fight. Now, before I get into the match itself, Jason, I could have sworn that this was going to be a CMLL Women's Championship match. Or whatever it was, what a women's championship, the Mexican championship, whatever it is. CML, no, it was not. Why not?
Well, because apparently CMLL, I don't know if it's just a storyline or whatever, but they don't typically have stipulation matches like this for their women's championship. So because of that, it was made non-title. Now it's weird because Statlander won an eliminator match like a month ago. So she's been due a championship match. So if that's the case, I don't know why they didn't just make it a title match. But because they don't typically do stipulations of that nature for CMLL matches, or maybe specifically women's title matches, they did the Chicago Street Fight stip, and they're going to hold off on the title match for a later date. I would have just done the title match. They wanted the Chicago Street Fight stipulation. I don't make the decisions.
Would have been great to see Statlander win some championship gold for herself. The way she's been portrayed and she's been presented, I think she needs something to kind of sink her teeth into. She's very good. And this match was excellent. When you want to think about the ladies in the women's division within AEW and the iconic moments that we've seen come out of that division, I know everybody's going to highlight Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa and that Britt Baker spot with the bloody mouth and that whole ordeal there. I honestly think, Jason, that we have, all these years later, finally found the match that's going to trump that one as far as greatest women's street fights in AEW history. I think this one now is number one over Britt and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, I thought they killed it. And I knew coming in, I said, this is going to be a physical match. And it was. And to their credit, not only did they go out there and have a great match, but the crowd was into it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it would have been very easy for them to that was the come down match. But they were into it from start to finish. So credit to both of them. I think they're both great. And even the finish, with the chain wrapped around the mouth and, yanking back on it. And they took some abuse during that match. They tumbled off the stage through some tables, and we had all the, weapons and plunder involved.
Thumbtacks, and she did a split on the thumbtacks.
Statlander was busted open. My review, I had a drinking game. Every time we saw some blood on the card, I said drink. And I'm sure there were a lot of people who probably didn't make it to the very end of that show because there was a lot of blood. I said Bad Blood came early. We got more blood at All Out than we're going to get at Bad Blood. But yeah, credit to them, man. They knocked it out, and it was certainly the best women's match of the night.
Is it the best women's match in AEW all year? Or would that be reserved for Mariah and Tony at All In?
That was a very good match too, but I feel like I might give the edge to Statlander and Willow on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean they were both very good matches, but I think I might give the edge to this one.
We'll reference back to Willow and Stat when we talk about Mercedes and Shida because we both feel like something's off with Mercedes. So there is a huge discrepancy there, but this was a tremendous match. Credit to both ladies. They did the unthinkable and followed Pac and Will Ospreay. And it was a tremendous match. And I'm glad Stat won. She needed it. Fatal 4-Way. Okada, Cassidy, Takeshita, and Briscoe for the Continental Championship. All great wrestlers in their own right. I think Okada's great. I think Cassidy is a very good pro wrestler. Takeshita's fucking phenomenal. And Briscoe, everybody loves Mark Briscoe. Current Ring of Honor champion, by the way, as well. Okada is the Continental Champion here, Jason. No matter how great these four guys are, just like the tag team match, I could not find myself emotionally invested in this. There was a string of qualifying matches to be placed in this match alongside Okada that were determined on Collision not too long before the pay-per-view. And we got these four guys together. Again, it was a fun match for what it was, but I'm looking forward to a one-on-one match with some sort of emotional story or some sort of emotion in general with Okada. Whether it's against Briscoe or everybody seems to want Takeshita and Okada. That's the obvious takeaway from this match. Everybody wants to see a one-on-one match there. I know that they're holding off Okada and the Continental title for Omega, but that is just a crapshoot. Nobody knows when he's coming back. He might not be back all year. Who knows how long he's going to be out. But if they want to keep the title on Okada for that long, it may be doing them a disservice because how many people in the community, how many people are uttering the same sentiment that Takeshita needs to be built up? He needs to be booked by Tony Khan as a fucking superstar. He's a stud. I would absolutely book the one-on-one match. I would have Takeshita win the Continental tournament this year, and I'd have him take the title off Okada. I don't know what the problem is.
I don't know what the rules are. I mean, if you're the champion going into the Continental Classic, I believe you're automatically entered into the tournament.
Yes.
And in order to keep your title, you'd have to win the entire thing.
Yes.
So is that okay? So that's the way it works. Yeah, what I suggested was, without knowing exactly when Omega will be able to come back, I'd like to see a singles match, and I would take the title from Okada and put it on Takeshita.
Yeah.
And remember, it All Out last year, Takeshita pinned Kenny Omega. So when Omega comes back, if they want him to end up with that title, there's a story there already to do Omega and Takeshita. And Omega could get his win back, win the championship, and then feud with Okada. You could still have a Continental title feud. Only the title would be on Kenny instead of Okada. So again, without knowing exactly when Kenny's going to be back, instead of keeping the title in purgatory, why not give Takeshita that big boost? Because it's not like they've done anything with him lately. I mean, he was in the G1, I believe, this year, and it's not like they followed up, momentum from that. They haven't really done much with him. He's the guy who I look at him and I go, okay, you know what? Kenny's not here, but I could see him beating Okada and being the one to take that championship. Now, do they do that in a match at Wrestle Dream or Full Gear, or do they wait? Because late in November, they're going to start doing these matches in the tournament. You have to catch to win the tournament. Because now you wait that long, now you're getting into territory where Kenny may be coming back in early 2025. So then what do you do?
But I feel like the reason why they've kept the titles on the Young Bucks is I feel like they may be setting up Bucks versus Kenny and Coda for the tag team titles, which I have zero interest in, but I feel like that's where they're going with that, and they're going to leave Okada.
Coda has said that he's going to come back when Omega does.
Yeah, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, so there's a few different ways it could go, and that's maybe the best way to go. You keep Okada and Omega apart a little bit longer, maybe pursue that avenue there, and let Okada and Takeshita shine. And it could be a huge moment for him and a huge feather in his cap, not only to win the title from him, but to be the one to hand Okada his first loss. Because he's unbeaten since he signed with the company. So you really want to get serious about this Takeshita guy, right? If Tony Khan, he sees something in him, well, show me what you got. It's one thing to sign the guy to a contract and say all these nice things about him and say that, oh, he's a tremendous athlete and we see such a great upside in him. Same thing with Daniel Garcia. Well, put your money where your mouth is. You want to push the guy, then push him. Here's a great spot for him.
Well, I know Tony's not deaf. He's got to hear the people fucking come to their feet when Takeshita's in the ring. I mean, every match he's in, it's like people are just enthralled with what he does in the ring. Like, I know he sees that.
Look at All Out. I mean, look at the reaction that they had when they came face-to-face in the ring. They want to see that match. The people were excited to see the two of them go at it. And when Orange Cassidy popped up in the background to interrupt their little face-off, there were some boos. People want to see Okada and Takeshita. And I guarantee you it will get over. Wherever they are, whatever audience they're in front of, when they do that match, it will get over. And the people will be into it. Takeshita's a heel. So how do they want to work this? He's managed by Don Callis. The Callis family is a heel faction. Do they keep him heel and basically do heel on heel? Does it matter? Because that's not ideal. But I still think it could be done. Yeah. But it could potentially turn him babyface in the process. So there is that.
Well, a lot of people also tend to think, I've seen this uttered on social media within some circles as well, they feel like they haven't really gotten the New Japan Okada yet. This could be a breakout. This could be a breakout where we finally see that New Japan Okada in AEW, and Takeshita would be the perfect time to do that.
We have not seen the Okada from New Japan yet, and I've been waiting for that guy to come out and be pulled out, and we haven't seen it yet. I've been entertained, when he does he flips off the crowd and some of the one-liners. That's all well and good, but I have been waiting to see the Okada that got over, as IWGP champion. The Okada, the asshole Okada who was bullying Kaito Kiyomiya last year from Pro Wrestling Noah. I am still waiting to see that side of Okada. Nobody's been able to bring it out of him yet. I think Takeshita could be that guy.
Hopefully he is. I think Takeshita deserves it. We'll see what happens there. Looking forward to a potential one-on-one match between the two. Mercedes Moné and Hikaru Shida for the TBS title. Camille was banned from ringside.
Yeah. What a great... She's been her bodyguard for not even 2 months, and she's already banned from ringside. So how is she supposed to get heat if she's not at ringside to get heat during Mercedes' match?
That is a very good point. See, I didn't listen to your. If that's what you said in the review, I didn't. That's a very good point. I don't even think anybody mentioned that. Really, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, again, they literally just paired these two up. And normally you would wait until maybe 6 months in, and then you can do the stip. Oh, you've been pulling this crap now for months, and so you're banned. It's not even a full 8 weeks, and she's already banned. It's like, what's the point? That's her whole job, is to be out there and get heat, and now she's banned from ringside, and she's a non-factor in the match. But that's what they did.
Ridiculous. The thing with Mercedes is first of all, Shida wrestled Bret upon Bret's return back to the company before All In, and she wrestled Mercedes. So that was her first match back. She beat Shida. Shida then went on a couple weeks later to wrestle Mercedes for the TBS title. Random match that they made. No rhyme or reason why it happened. Shida lost to Bret. Why she gets the championship match, nobody fucking knows. And then Mercedes wrestles Bret at All In. Then we get to All Out. Shida wrestles in a fatal four-way with Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb, and Queen Aminata on Collision. She gets the match with Mercedes at All Out, and we get the match at All Out for the TBS title. That's how we got set up here. The match itself was fine. I thought the crowd in Chicago was a little bit more invested in what these two ladies did here compared to Mercedes and Bret at All In front of 47,000 people, which is surprising. But at the end of the day, Jason, it was just another forgettable match for Mercedes and another. Shida's very good. I'm a Shida guy. I do think that she has her days, and I do think she has her stinkers. I thought she looked a little off. I don't know what the problem was with Mercedes, but speaking in regards to Mercedes, this is the second match in a row now, and a growing sentiment amongst a lot of people that Mercedes, whatever she is doing, is just a disappointment. I don't know what the problem is. You can look at creative. You could look at the talent that she's been in the ring with. I mean, she's been in the ring with Bret. She's been in the ring with Stephanie Vaquer. She's been in the ring with Shida. I mean, the talent is there. What seems to be the issue with Mercedes? Why is it not clicking?
I don't know. It's very inconsistent because she just had a match at the New Japan show, the Capital Collision show, a little over a week ago. I didn't see the match, but I heard that it was a good match. And she had the match with Stephanie, Forbidden Door, which is may have been the match that ultimately got Stephanie a contract with WWE.
And probably the best in Mercedes' run so far, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, look, she had a great match with Willow.
She did.
At Double or Nothing. So we've seen Mercedes go out there and have very good matches. The match with Bret was not one of those matches. The match with Shida was not one of those matches. It was better than the Bret match, but that's not saying much. I also am confused because I just wasn't sure what they were going for with that finishing sequence. Now, Shida did. She has the katana kick.
Yep.
And it looked like the first one, it missed. So she threw it again, and then it connected flush. I mean, it may have connected a little too well. But then she picks her back up and gives her a third one, which also mostly missed. And then she tries to pin Mercedes, and Mercedes kicks out at one. So she took 3 katana kicks and kicks out at one. So that made Shida look weak. Then the kendo stick spot where Shida, they're fighting over it. And Shida now has her own kendo stick and she's contemplating using it, but she's, ultimately she decides against it, but she's threatening to use it, which if she does, well, I mean, it's AEW, so who the hell knows, but in theory, you should be disqualified if you use a weapon in that spot. So that made her look dumb. And I just think making your babyface look weak and dumb, that's a choice. Not a good choice, but that's a choice. So I was just confused when the match was over. So this just did not click at all. But you can't say that Mercedes just hasn't had any good matches. She has. But in these big spots, All In and now All Out, I think on both shows, I would say that her match was the weakest on the entire main card.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I know a lot of people feel the same way that I do. We talked about it on Wednesday quite frequently, honestly, me and Jesse. Is the CEO thing, the music, the whole vibe, is it something that's turning people off to Mercedes now? Because we didn't get this feeling in WWE. Sasha Banks came off like a legit star. She was eccentric. She was kind of feeling herself, but not to this level. Is it to a point where now it's just kind of looked at as
cringe?
Yeah.
She's a heel, though.
I know, but still, I think people at the end of the day respect her and what she's done and what she brings to the table.
Well, what does that have to do with the quality of the matches she's having? I don't think one has to do with the other. Once the bell rings, no one gives a shit that she calls herself the CEO or she has the music. That doesn't answer the question about what's going on with these matches. So I mean, that's a separate issue altogether. You could say that this gimmick is cringy, or it doesn't work, or it's annoying, but that doesn't explain the inconsistency with some of these matches that she's had. So I don't know that we really have an answer for it. Because Shida is very good. It's not like she was in there with somebody who was less than.
No.
So you can't just say, oh, well, if she had a good opponent, she had a good opponent. And maybe it was just an off night. Britt Baker, right? Britt Baker's had some bad matches. Britt Baker's had some very good matches. And on the biggest stage possible, they went out there and had a very underwhelming match. So is it just bad luck that in these big spots, these matches have been very underwhelming? Maybe. But there's a pattern developing here that isn't very good. So, for her sake, hopefully she's able to regroup and go out there and have some really kick-ass matches, because she's still missing, even though I like the Willow match and the Stephanie match was very good, she still hasn't had that one, like, blow away, like, okay, that's her statement match.
Yeah.
Right? She's like a statement maker. She hasn't had that one statement match yet.
I don't think it's going to come either. You know who I think it's going to come against? And it has to be against. I don't know how healthy she is or if she's injured right now, but they need to move Athena to AEW, get her off of that fucking dead show, and build that match to All In Texas next year, because Athena is from, Houston, I believe? Perfect match right there. Boom.
I mean, that's still a long ways off.
Yeah.
And we don't know what the status of Ring of Honor is going to be with this new media rights deal. Maybe Tony Khan is keeping her there because he wants her to be the centerpiece of some new Ring of Honor show that ends up airing on actual television. So let's wait and see. I agree, though. It's still ridiculous that she's been hidden away like this. We have Ring of Honor world champions and tag team champions and pure champions, six-man champions. All the champions have freely appeared on AEW programming.
12-man champions, fucking 24-man champions. It's like every fucking week there's just a new title.
Outside of the Owen, I can't think of another time where Athena has been allowed to appear on Dynamite or Collision or certainly compete on a regular basis. And you could say, well, she's got this streak going in Ring of Honor, and she's been like the final boss champion over there, like what Gunther was when he was the Intercontinental champion. That's what she is to the women's division there. Yeah, but what does it matter if no one's watching? If you don't have eyeballs on it, because what could the audience be?
7 people?
What could the... Yeah, no, but what could the audience be on Honor Club watching her matches every week, right? It's not...
Couple of hundred?
It's not great.
Somebody in the chat says Athena is feuding with Abaddon for the Ring of Honor women's title.
Oh, wow.
Great.
I stand corrected. Just in time for Halloween. Well, that's great for Abaddon, not so great for Athena. Yeah, Athena would be a great opponent for her. There's other people as well. Jamie Hayter just came back, although I think the match to build to is Jamie and Mariah. I still wonder if the one who's going to take that title ultimately from her when the split happens is Camille.
You think they got that HBK Diesel thing going on?
They could, yeah. Because who else is going to take that title from her in the meantime? We may get a Saraya and Mercedes feud because of their history together. I can't tell you I have any interest in seeing it, but that could be a potential match. They have a lot of women in the division. I just don't know who that person is that kind of jumps out at me like, okay, that's the person that's going to be the one to beat Mercedes. Camille may end up being that person.
Well,
let's down the road.
Let's get there and pen a good story behind it. Maybe people will care. So I don't think Mercedes has had a true story outside that opening face-to-face with Bret, which started off great, and then she got suspended. We haven't seen really anything substantial as far as story goes with Mercedes. So it's like it's tough to sink your teeth into and get emotionally invested in what she's doing because the story is just not there.
Well, no, we have Okada simping for her on TV.
Listen, man, I'd rather see Okada dance than some of these fucking matches every week. So.
It's like their version of Dominic and Rhea. It was like a Wish version of Dominic and Rhea. We have Okada simping over Mercedes.
Listen, Mercedes is big into the Japanese culture, man. You know, I know Okada's a married man, but whatever. This
Mercedes is single.
She is? There you go. You got a shot?
Well, me?
Yeah.
Maybe not after the show, I don't. Not after this discussion, I don't.
Oh, man. Listen, we love Mercedes. We're just trying to figure out what the fucking problem is, man. I don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is, but who knows what she's got next. We got Mariah and Queen Aminata on Wednesday. What's next for Mercedes after Shida? Nobody knows, but she did get the victory. Very lackluster match. And Camille was banned, so we'll see what happens there. If that furthers something there, dissension between the two. I don't know. Jack Perry and Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Championship. This is Bryan Danielson's first title defense since winning it from Swerve Strickland at All In. And a lot of people were, Jack Perry, World Championship. You know, a lot of people were disgusted at the announcement. We didn't really know who made the call there. It could have been some of Bryan's choice. It could have been some of TK's choice. It could have been a mixture of a few different people in the back. We don't know. But knowing Bryan and him wanting to tie up some loose ends because Jack Perry did pin him at Anarchy in the Arena, it might have been a Bryan call. We don't really know. But regardless, Jack Perry in Chicago, they were going for an environment for sure. Jack Perry coming out with the SWAT team in Chicago, the home of CM Punk and the guy that drove CM Punk out of the company. I see what they were going for. But regardless of all the bullshit, at the end of the day, Jason, this was probably Jack Perry's best AEW match, maybe ever. You know, the only thing that I would really kind of put up with it is two things: the four-way, the Pillars four-way, and the steel cage match with Luchasaurus all those years ago. I forgot what show it was on, but that was a great match as well. This is certainly up there for sure. This was a great match.
Yeah, it was up there. It wasn't better than the Four Pillars match. That's still the best match that he was a part of. As far as singles matches, it might be. It might be his best. And no surprise, you know, given who he was in the ring with. He was in the ring with one of the GOATs. It's hard to have a bad match with Bryan Danielson. Think of all the great ones he's had this year alone, right? Okada, Zack Sabre Jr., Will Ospreay. So this is just another and Swerve, of course.
Yeah.
And so this is just another in a long line. He also, I will give Perry credit for the tremendous sell job on the Busaiku knees.
Yes.
Turned inside out multiple times, so that was great. And yeah, I mean, look, I had no issue with it because it was one of those things where they announced this a week in advance. You know, they had another pay-per-view to get through. You knew he wasn't going to win. It was just, let's just get through this show. Let's get that first win for Bryan. He doesn't have a lot of matches left as champion. He's not going to have a long run. But let's get that first win under his belt, rip the Band-Aid off, and then we'll move on to the next. He's got that match lined up with Darby at Grand Slam in a few weeks. So they needed a name in there. Now, you could have gone with a Nigel McGuinness, right? You could have just did the Nigel McGuinness match on that show. But they wanted the heat factor. They wanted Jack Perry to go in there and, you know, get all this heat, which I actually thought he didn't get as much heat as I thought he would get.
No, he did not.
Yeah. I mean, it was decent, but it wasn't like overwhelming.
And we got a couple of Cry Me a River chants, and we got a little CM Punk chant in the beginning when he walked out with the SWAT team, but that was it.
Yeah, but that's very tame. So, but now, again, it's over. He got beat. It wasn't a big deal. The real story had nothing to do with the match. Obviously, the real story had to do with what happened after the match.
Bryan won with the Busaiku knee. Out comes the Blackpool Combat Club, and it was as usual. Moxley hugging Bryan in the middle of the ring like he usually does. It was an emotional John Moxley hug for sure.
And how often do we see Moxley hug?
Not really, but he loves Bryan. He loves Bryan very much. And then he walks away, and then the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club raise Bryan's hand in the air, and we see Pac in the back. He's holding and hugging Yuta like he's hugging him. You know, we did great. We got our championships, and we're all together a happy family. And then all of a sudden, Claudio European uppercuts Bryan. He knocks him on his ass. He looks up at him like, did I just get hit with an uppercut by you? What the hell's going on? And all of a sudden, behind Bryan, Moxley's pulling out a plastic bag, starts suffocating him. Bryan starts convulsing, and he's doing the floppy fish on the mat, and it felt like fucking at least 60 seconds with the trash bag over his head.
It was more than that.
Was it 90 seconds?
It was a while. It was like an uncomfortably long period of time. Like, all right, can we get on with this now?
And it was just a shocking, like, what the fuck am I watching here? Crowd is chanting, "This is murder." And when it was all over, they all looked at each other, walked away. Medical team is carrying Bryan out there. They got an oxygen mask on him, and
well, all except Yuta. Yuta
he was
stayed
crying.
back to check on Bryan because he clearly was out of the loop on this.
Yeah, so out of everybody in this segment, Bryan looks to be excommunicated from the Blackpool Combat Club. We don't know what story is going to be revolving around Yuta. He was obviously crying and trying to help Bryan, but was held back by Pac. We don't know if it's going to be a situation where he's going to have to choose sides. Is he going to choose Bryan? Is he going to choose the Blackpool Combat Club? We don't know what's going to go on with him, so hopefully we'll get some information out of Jon Moxley tomorrow night on Dynamite. But I mentioned this, Jason. The first thing that I want to start off with here in the discussion is it's blatantly obvious that all the remaining members, minus Yuta and Bryan, are Marina Shafir, Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Jon Moxley. These are all ex-WWE performers. Now, this is supposedly the new Blackpool Combat Club, and we go back to a couple of weeks ago where Jon Moxley stated that this is not your company anymore in a very cryptic message to Tony Schiavone and AEW. And then we get this. Does this mean, like I think it means, I think Shane McMahon is definitely coming on in what role? We don't know. Is he going to be leading the Blackpool Combat Club? Nobody knows, but I do have a feeling that this is all revolving around Shane McMahon.
It seems like the most sensible solution to me as far as the direction for this, and maybe they'll hold off on that reveal for the anniversary show in a few weeks.
Yep.
But all those pieces, again, Tony Khan knew what he was doing when he had Moxley go out there and say that line last week about this is not your company anymore. And I feel like if he doesn't deliver that, you know, to all the people who are excited to see Shane and think that's where it's headed, it would almost be a letdown at this point if he didn't show up. So I think it's very likely. The other aspect of this, of course, is that Yuta is 1/3 of the Trios champions.
Yes.
with Claudio and with Pac. And as we saw with the Bang Bang Gang, those titles are not transferable. So they're either going to continue to defend them, but they can't swap it out. You know, they can't swap out Yuta for someone else, whoever that might be. So that's not going to happen. Not that the Trios titles are anything to really take all that seriously, but that is one little wrinkle in this story. But the other one is also Darby. Jon Moxley has been saying he wants to have a conversation with Darby. What does he want to have a conversation about? Maybe he wants to replace Bryan in the Blackpool Combat Club with Darby. Maybe he's going to offer him a spot in the group, and that's what he wants to talk to him about. Darby is already lined up for a match with Bryan in Queens in a few weeks. So that could be the interesting little twist on this. We want you to join with us and bring that championship back into the Blackpool Combat Club. And Darby is now torn, you know, on what to do. So is that what Moxley wants to discuss with him? Because what else would he want to discuss with Darby Allin?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out on Wednesday. But it certainly created a shocking moment and a piece of the show that a lot of people were talking about. You know, it was definitely one of the instances that dragged a lot of people on social media to a point where there was petitions to cancel AEW. And more so in the still.
Really? Were there really petitions?
Yes, there was. There was a change.org petition to cancel AEW. Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask up front. I mean, I know it was uncomfortable, and we've seen plastic bags, trash bags used by Charles Mason in House of Glory. We've seen him choke out many a talent. That you and I were on the call for.
It goes back to Terry Funk. I mean, it's the Terry Funk spot with Ric Flair from 1989, where he put a plastic bag over his head. And Eddie Kingston, I'm sure, was throwing furniture at home because he's pitched plastic bag spots before, and maybe he did it for TV. I don't see them doing an angle like this on TV.
No.
Nor do I think they're going to show a replay of this.
No.
Because even in the tweet that I think the AEW account initially put up, I think they may have taken it down, and then they said this is too graphic to show. So they're not going to air this on television. On pay-per-view, they can get away with whatever they want. But yeah, Eddie legitimately probably was not very happy. He was tweeting or posting on Instagram some other stuff, and because he's pitched that spot multiple times to Tony Khan, and every time Tony said, no, we're not doing the plastic bag spot. So imagine him sitting at home, his leg is elevated, he's watching this, and then he pulls out the plastic bag. I'm sure he was not happy about that.
Did this spot bother you enough to a point where it was uneasy to watch, or were you like me? Now, granted, I would not book a wrestling show, in my opinion. If I had the pen, I would not book suffocation of another talent on my wrestling show, but this is Jon Moxley. This is potentially leading to, something major happening, whether it's Shane McMahon or not, we don't know yet, but it got people talking. It got people riled up. Jon Moxley's promo, I believe, will start Dynamite on Wednesday, so I'm very much looking forward to his explanation as to why he went to the lengths that he did on Saturday with Bryan. Did this bother you at all? Was it too much that Jon Moxley suffocated Bryan Danielson at All Out?
No. I mean, that spot's not the one that bothered me on the show. Okay. So that I didn't really have an issue with. And them doing this angle, I think it's a good thing, because clearly they're trying to generate interest in this angle, and we'll find out soon enough if it works or not. What Tony Khan, I think, is trying to do here is generate interest that he tried to generate with the Elite angle, and it fell flat. Obviously, that did not work. And Tony Khan would not have taken a bump in that angle if he wasn't trying to drum up some great enthusiasm and interest in the AEW product. Now, did it seem like that idea worked with that angle? No. But he tried to do what other promoters before him tried to do. He saw this as their kind of ace in the hole, their big angle that was going to carry them through the summer, the Elite angle. And it failed. The only thing that it accomplished was, and there are people who don't care about Jack Perry, so they don't give a shit, but Jack Perry is in a better position now than he was a few months ago. So as far as trying to get Jack Perry over as a heel on his own, has it worked? It's worked in that he does feel more important on the show than he did a few months ago. But if the idea was to get this major angle over, this is going to be their NWO, you probably heard some of the same stuff when they shot that angle. It didn't turn out that way. But like I mentioned this in my review, it goes back to when Bischoff did this with the NWO, and he took that massive power bomb off the stage at the Great American Bash from the Outsiders to try to get that angle over as like a real invasion. And Vince McMahon, when he took that first stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin at Madison Square Garden, he did it because he knew Austin was going to be the guy, the babyface that he was going to build around. So he was willing to take a bump and take one for the team because he knew this is going to be a big deal. And that's what Tony Khan tried to do with the Elite angle. He took a TK driver, got dropped on his head in the middle of the ring because he thought this was going to be their big breakout angle. And it failed. It has been cold as a block of ice. So now they're trying something different. Maybe they're going to bring Shane in. I'm with you. I think he probably is coming in the next few weeks. And they're going to try something. They have to try something. They piqued my interest with the angle. So I'm also curious how Jon Moxley is going to open the show. What is he going to say? Because last week on Dynamite, there was really no advancement, right? That segment was kind of just like a throwaway segment. There was no real follow-up to the first week of this. Now, coming out of the show, given what happened here, there's got to be some real follow-up. I'm not saying we're going to get Shane tomorrow night, but there's got to be some real explanation of why they did what they did. How does Marina Shafir fit into this? Right? That still hasn't been explained. And what does he want to talk to Darby about? This is what this product has been missing. For all the people who complain about how it's just matches. It's just bangers, right? Well, now they're trying to craft an interesting storyline here. I hope they have more success with this than they did the one they shot back in May, because that one was a fucking fail.
It was. And like you said, I've been saying it for weeks. They need to try something. I know you've been very vocal about not really using Shane as your go-to. He's not going to be a difference maker, but what they need is a story that is going to generate interest on a week-to-week consistent basis. It's episodic television. I'm tired of having banger matches with no rhyme or reason. I like something to end the show and give me the excitement of, hey, man, I want to watch Dynamite next week because I want to see this story progress into where it's going to go. And that's what I feel like they need. And if this is a step towards that, then good on Tony Khan. The suffocation angle did not bother me. A lot of people were bothered by it. It did not bother me. It actually fits Jon Moxley's DNA. That's who he is. He loves that type of shit. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan even asked for it, too. So, I mean, good on them. I'm excited to see where it goes, and that did not bother me whatsoever. It was shocking but shocking sometimes is supposed to be that way. Shocking, and they got you talking.
Yeah, that's a good segue into what we're about to talk about.
And the main event, which AEW prepped everybody for. It was an unsanctioned, lights-out match, steel cage. Whatever happened in this match, AEW was not responsible for. It was Swerve Strickland and Adam Page, one-on-one, no championships on the line. It's just a grudge match following Adam Page burning down the childhood home of Swerve Strickland on the Go Home Show episode of Dynamite, which I thought was a fantastic segment. They should do more of that, and I thought it was easily telegraphed. I probably even called it earlier in the day. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if fucking Swerve burns this, has this fucking house burned down by Page.
They should burn down more homes?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I love arson, yeah, man.
You love arson?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a pyromaniac. Okay, I didn't know that about you.
When it comes to Page, it fit the bill for sure, all joking aside. So when the match started, they brawled before the cage started coming down, and they wanted to have a beheading right there because Swerve was choking Page on the apron and the cage was coming down. So you kind of knew right from the word go where this match was going. And it did start off a little slow. We didn't really kind of build up until the middle of the match, up until the ending. It started off a little slow, but Jason, when they got into the nitty-gritty of things, we seen chains, we seen kendo sticks, we seen cinder blocks. I mean, and obviously the big spot was the hyperthermic needle, where he pulled
guns.
Staple gun. We've seen the staple gun is a fixture for them. He did that in the Full Gear match last year.
Yeah, but he stapled the photo of his family to his cheek.
Yeah.
And then ripped it off.
Yeah. And then we got the hyperthermic needle where Page pulled the grill out of Swerve's mouth, and that was the spot it's in the thumbnail. You guys can see it. The spot that everybody was like, "Is that necessary?" It was hokey. It wasn't needed. It was cringy. Blah blah blah. Now, I want to start off the discussion by saying I have absolutely no problem with what they did in this match. If you look at the whole year-long feud between Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, what you got in the steel cage match is a direct correlation of what a human being should be doing when another man breaks into your newly purchased childhood home and burns it down to the fucking ground while sitting in your father's chair drinking a beer with the entire place burning behind him. So the fact that they went into the steel cage match and did what they did, to me, it was all warranted. The spot that everybody is really complaining about, Jason, two spots, I would say, because one was more cringier to me than the other. We've seen cinder blocks used by Swerve before. I wasn't even cringing over the cinder block spots. Why they took those spots is another question. Why they took those spots is beyond me. They are both sick in the fucking head, both of them. I think Swerve's was actually worse than Page, to be honest with you. The spot that got me, was it needed? No. But they wanted a shock factor that they had in their first match, in the singles match back at Full Gear with the blood. They were drinking each other's blood. They wanted to try and one-up. Now, nothing's going to top what they did at Full Gear, and this kind of fell short of that, but a hypodermic needle to the mouth, was it needed? No. Shocking? Yes. But it certainly created discourse on social media, so I guess we'll start there. You weren't really skeeved out by or shocked by the trash bag spot with Moxley. How did this make you feel?
I thought it was stupid. I thought it was completely stupid and unnecessary. It didn't lead to anything. Now, if there would have been a point to it, if it was, the syringe was filled with some kind of chemical that was going to knock him out, and that's how he wins the match, I mean, it might have made for a lame finish, but it would have been kind of clever. But it wasn't even that. I was joking. I'm like, at least he was being nice. He was trying to numb him up before he hit him in the head with a chair. But think about it. What purpose did it serve other than shock value? And that's what gets me. It's like, you can say that these guys hate each other. Right? We've seen them with the staple guns. They want to bring a cinder block out and bash his brains in. Stuff like that. When I saw the needle, it was like, where's this going? And then he sticks it in his cheek. I think he was trying to get it to come out the other end. I don't think it did. But it was nasty enough. And, I don't like needles to begin with, so it skeeves me out. But it didn't lead to anything. They wanted the visual, I guess, of the needle sticking out, but then he just hit him in the head with a chair, and that was the end of it. So all it did was serve as shock value for the sake of shock value. And it's like when you watch a movie. a lot of like the Saw movies, that's basically what they became. It was just shock for the sake of shock. It's one of the reasons why I love the original Saw movie so much. It was actually a really clever film. And then as time went on, it just devolved into torture porn, which is really all it was. And it's like, okay, how can we top ourselves and just shock people?
What was
even
that?
more?
What was that scene? What was it? Saw 2? I think one of the
Pit of Needles.
Yeah. Oh,
The Pit of Needles, where Shawnee Smith's character is just thrown into this pit of syringes and hypodermic needles. I can't even watch that back. Like that fucking scene.
I immediately thought of that when I'm just listening to you talking like Saw. Like, wasn't that in Saw 2?
That was Saw 2, yeah. No,
Awful.
that's the famous trap, the Pit of Needles. But that's what really struck me as far as that goes. It just did not serve any purpose whatsoever. As you look back on the match and the effect it had on the finish, it had none. Or if it was supposed to be something where he injected him with something, certainly the announcers didn't articulate that. I mean, they were, especially Jim Ross. I mean, he was going off on, what are we watching? This is sick. Yeah, but you can say that about the rest of the match. Like, it didn't serve a purpose. That's where it kind of jumped the shark for me. Even the chair shot at the end. I mean, I've talked about chair shots to the head. Clearly, whatever they did, they sanded the chair down and they pulled back to the wide shot. You'll notice when he hit him in the head with the chair, because I think they just didn't want you to get the up close view of the sanded down chair.
Yes, in a day and age where everybody has a mobile device, of course we're not going to get the real shot of the fucking chair shot. So we all saw it anyway. So I don't know why they tried to hide it.
And it sounded like a gunshot went off. But you could have done that final kill shot there at the end without the need for the needle. So the needle, I just found it to be dumb. For all those reasons I just mentioned, it served no purpose beyond shock value. And when you get to that point where you're just trying to shock people, you've lost the plot. I don't want to say they ruined the match. I don't even know how you grade a match like this or rate a match like this, because it's not a match. It's not like a regular match. You can't grade it the same way. It was a spectacle. But it was a spectacle that I think got to a point where it was just trying to get too cute for its own good.
The chair shot didn't bother you? Or did the chair shot bother you?
Well, no. I mean, if it were up to me, I wouldn't have done the spot. But
shaved chair or not, I mean, we said the same thing with Jack Perry. I mean, it was like a fucking gunshot wound or a gunshot blast to the head. It just ricocheted throughout the entire arena. I mean, I don't really want to see that type of thing in 2024. I mentioned that on my own.
Yeah, I don't either. And I talked about it when they did that in Blood and Guts, but I'm not going to keep saying the same thing over and over. I'll sound like a broken record. I've made it very clear. I just don't think that chair shots to the head should be done. And then people will say, well, it was gimmicked. It's no different than a cookie sheet because they shaved it down. I certainly hope they did. I hope they did. Tony Khan didn't want to answer questions about that the last time because he wanted to protect, kayfabe.
Yeah.
By not giving away secrets, as if, this is not a company where at the media scrums, they go in and out of kayfabe every fucking month. I mean, give me a break. So, no, I'm not going to say it didn't bother me, but at least that led to the finish. It was the knockout shot. The referee checked on him. He was out, and he called for the bell. Tell me what the syringe spot led to. Why it had to be in the match.
It didn't. It didn't have to be. Like they were simply going for shock value, because the last time we saw them in a shocking moment was the Texas Death Match, and Swerve drank his blood. So it's like that's what they wanted to go for. Even people were making fun of the wooden stake, the burned piece of the home that Paige brought into the ring, and Swerve started stabbing Paige in the head with it. Did that bother you? I thought that was great. I mean, that's creative because that just plays into the psychopathic fucking mind of Adam Page. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and it's a piece of the home.
Yeah.
So it actually tied into the story. Like they showed Swerve, he was basically in tears, when he realized what he had in his hand. Like this is a remnant of his childhood home. I had no issue with that. That was fine. And it's not like we haven't seen spikes. Look, spikes have been used in wrestling going back decades. I mean, anybody remembers the classic cage match with Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard. I mean, come on. Like that's not anything new. But again, the syringe thing was, you take that out, it doesn't really change the match in any discernible way. That's just shock for the sake of shock. That's, we don't need that.
You and I have grown up through the glory days of pro wrestling. You and I, I loved ECW. I don't know how you felt about ECW. We grew up with ECW.
Yeah, I was not, at the time, I was not like a big ECW guy.
I remember growing up in high school, tape trading ECW. I'd buy VHS tapes from this kid, Joe Aceto, in Mount St. Michael High School, because my parents didn't let me watch ECW when it came on late. So I bought tapes from him, and I took it home, and I purchased most of the ECW library through him at that time, up until whenever I stopped. Obviously I grew into it, and then I was able to watch it on my own and find it on my own. But I had to sneak tapes, buy tapes, and bring it home and watch it in my own room when my mom was downstairs cooking dinner. She wasn't aware of what I was doing. I watched ECW. I was addicted to it. I loved the violence and the alternative nature of it, the sexualization of everything that was going on at that time. I was a young teenage kid in high school. The violence, the fire, the barbed wire, the chairs. I mean, it was just different from what we were watching with WWE. So it's easy for me to sit here and say none of this shit bothers me. Like, in 2024, it's going to bother people that didn't grow up with that type of thing, but the part I don't get is people starting petitions online and complaining, this fake outrage, this reason to be angry, to social justice online. It's like, I get why you might not like it, but if you don't like it, don't watch it. People, I feel like, Jason, were watching this just to hate on it, and that's great. If you're TK, thanks for purchasing the $50 pay-per-view. I hope to see you back at Full Gear or Wrestle Dream, whatever. And if you didn't watch it and you're critiquing something that you didn't pay for and watch, and you're watching clips or seeing still pictures, I mean, do you have any room to talk? Because everything to me that happened, minus, granted, you might like it or you might not like it, but the needle spot happened. But I'm not going to let the needle spot take away from the 1 year storytelling that they've told between Paige and Swerve, which right now, in my honest opinion, is probably the greatest storyline that they told. There's a lot more things on AEW television to complain about outside Swerve and Paige doing a needle spot at the end of their steel cage match. This is the best story that they are telling in all of AEW. And I would not have it any other way with what we're seeing right now. It calls for it. It feels right. And if they are the professionals that they are, and they're going to give us this brand of entertainment, scripted entertainment, this is no different than a movie, no different than your favorite TV show. I don't understand the outrage behind it, where we got to get petitions out there to cancel AEW. AEW is not going anywhere. This didn't happen on Dynamite. They're not suffocating people on TBS. They're not hyperthermic needling people on TNT. It happened on pay-per-view, and you paid a premium price for it. Could this affect AEW sponsorships? Who the fuck knows? I don't run their numbers. If it does, it's Tony Khan's problem. Then you reach into the whole parental thing. I said this on my end last night when I was talking about this, because it got raised in the discussion. If you're a parent watching this shit, it should be up to you to gauge whether your kid should be watching this or not. It's not Tony Khan's problem how you parent your children. He's going to put on the product he's going to put on. But if Tony Khan is doing this shit and you're a parent letting your kids watch this, that is up to you. You should know better on what to expect to allow your kids to watch it or not. Simple as that. The outrage is fake to me. What do you make of the outrage, Jason, and the way people acted on social media in regards to this one needle spot that happened in this steel cage match?
I mean, look, this is what you are going to have whenever AEW does something that is remotely controversial. You have people who will argue in bad faith, and you have people who will argue in good faith, who genuinely just didn't like the spot, or they were bothered by it, and that's fine. I think if it wasn't their thing and they were bothered by it, and then they just sort of moved on and critiqued the rest of the show as normal, that's a normal reaction. The people starting petitions, it's probably some fucking child. Like, again, I don't know why people take any of that shit seriously. People used to start petitions for WWE stuff all the time. It's lame, it's just cringy, and it's stupid. As far as the people on social media who, were attacking AEW for it, or, again, there are people who actively want AEW to fail. And I just think that there are definitely bad faith actors out there who will jump on anything. A lot of those people, I also guarantee you, they didn't watch the show.
No.
They didn't pay for the show. They didn't watch the show. They heard about it. They saw the GIF. They saw a clip. And they jumped in on the conversation. But how much of the response is in good faith? like constructive criticism? How much of it is just, let's just shit on AEW no matter what they do? I think it's a mix of both. I don't personally take it very seriously. I don't think Tony Khan does either. I think Tony Khan grew up a child of ECW.
Yes.
He loves this shit. So he ain't going to change. He has clearly he's demonstrated he has no issue with this type of thing in his company. It is maybe the one thing left that truly separates the WWE product from the AEW product is the level of violence, right? Would that not be the most dramatic difference? Because they're not really the alternative in the same way they used to be.
No.
So the really dramatic difference between the two products is, I guess, the adult nature of AEW as far as the level of violence and the blood and stuff like what we saw at All Out. You would never see that on WWE television. So they can look at that and go, see, we can offer a certain segment of our audience something that you can't find with that other product. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I think it goes too far, or sometimes it's just shock for the sake of shock. The Texas Death Match, they had a Full Gear last year. They had some shocking spots in that match. The blood drinking and the stapling and all that.
The hanging with the steel chain.
The hanging with the steel chain, which again, at least led to the finish of the match.
Yep.
I didn't come away from that feeling shock for the sake of shock. I actually felt like as matches like that go, like that was great for what it was. I didn't feel the same way about this. I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it as much or appreciate it as much as their Texas Death Match. It wasn't as good as that. But starting petitions and saying that this should be the end of the company and all that, I think it's a vocal minority that needs to be ignored. I think a lot of it is just people who are arguing for the sake of arguing and shitting on the company. I agree. I think the needle spot was dumb and unnecessary, but I'm not going to sit here and say that AEW should go out of business because of it, or that we should start some kind of a petition to do what, by the way? I didn't ask you. What was the petition?
To get AEW off of television.
To get them? Okay. Yeah. I thought maybe it was to have Tony Khan step down from his own company, which would have been...
That's a whole nother discussion for a different day.
Yeah, let's get Shane in there, and Tony Khan should step down.
Yeah, sure.
It's not going to get them kicked off television. This is not something they would ever do on television. No. But they've done stuff on TV that you would think would cross the line, and clearly it does not bother Warner Brothers Discovery.
I mean, we got the pizza cutter shit, right?
Yeah, we had Nick Gage with the pizza cutter stuff, and we've had other hardcore men. We've had plenty of blood on Dynamite, and barbed wire, and tacks, and weapons and shit. I've never once read any report that Warner Brothers Discovery was upset with Tony Khan, and I guarantee you if they were, it wouldn't be happening anymore.
Yeah.
Because all Tony Khan lives to do is to please his masters.
Yep.
He wants to make sure that Mr. David Zaslav and all these people at Warner Brothers Discovery are happy with AEW. If they didn't like it, it wouldn't be happening. So AEW is not getting kicked off nothing. Sorry for all the people hoping to stir up shit. It ain't gonna work. But again, I don't spend too much time after these shows now paying a whole lot of attention to people who, and you could see it when you click on their profiles and just look at their tweets. I mean, it's pathetic in some cases. This is all they do. All they do.
All Elite Mark 0004.
Yeah. Just shit on the product, shit on Tony Khan. And it just drives me nuts because there are valid reasons to criticize Tony Khan and AEW, which is what we do. And we talk about those reasons. But this is beyond. Like, you've just got people who have made it their personal mission to just try to take them down because they're not WWE, basically. I mean, let's be honest. That's what a lot of it is.
There's zero valid criticism.
Yeah, and it's just, again, let them shout into the void. Their voice doesn't matter. I try not to pay too much attention to it. Sometimes you can't avoid it, and sometimes it's funny to just point and laugh. But that's just goofy. It's just goofy shit.
It's really sad. Listen, you got two honest, upfront guys here that will tell you the good and tell you the bad right here. And the funny thing is, every time that we do that, at some point, there is somebody upset at what we say, even though it is valid criticism. I genuinely feel bad for Tony Khan in this instance because not only were All In and All Out great shows, All In was better than All Out, but this right now is probably their their top-of-the-line storytelling. Over 5 years, they've had some great storytelling. Punk MJF, the Elite storyline with Paige and Kenny Omega going after the tag team titles. Hangman's chase for the World Championship, taking down Omega. There was a lot of great storylines in AEW. This, to me, is the top of the top. And he's delivering on all levels with these two guys. Adam Page is doing the best fucking work of his entire career right now. Swerve is at the top of his career right now. And he can't fucking win. He's delivering the best storyline that the company's ever done. And he's got people wanting to cancel him off television and people fucking criticizing the way he's booking his television show with these two guys. This is where I genuinely feel sorry for him. He can't fucking win. I don't know what he's got. I don't know what there's nothing that he can do from this point on. If people are going to complain about this, there's nothing that he can do to get into good graces of these people. It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, and there are people who, I mean, they're never going to give him credit for anything. If AEW's business and ratings all of a sudden started to turn around, I mean, they're still going to crap on the guy. So I believe there is absolutely a segment of the fans that just either don't like him or they just think it's fun to just make fun of him and shit all over him just for the sake of it. And you're always going to have some trolls and people like that around. I mean, that's just the way it is. But again, I just, let him talk. Tony has to deal with it every day. I'm sure he sees the comments and the replies on a daily basis. And it just, when you have people who are trying to lob legitimate criticism, and talk about things in the vein of, I want them to improve. Yeah, I want them to do better. I want them to try to make this change or that change, whether it's the tag division or whether it's whatever. I mean, there's any number of things that you could point out. That's the criticism that kind of gets drowned out by all the bullshit. And that's a shame, because there is valid criticism out there, but not from a lot of these clowns.
No. And last thing before we get to the super chats, I said, I don't know where they go from this. Swerve is obviously taking time off television. I would put Paige in the world title picture. I predicted that I would put Paige against Bryan at Wrestle Dream or Full Gear, whichever the case may be. I think having him beat Paige beat Bryan in to Tacoma in Washington would be a very heelish thing to do. Whether that happens at Wrestle Dream or Full Gear, nobody knows yet. But I would have him take the title off Bryan and then have him hold it till next All In, and then Swerve comes back and takes the title from takes the title from Hangman, rather, the Swerve at All In next year. But I'm making Paige the world champion.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know where Christian Cage fits into all that, because he still has that guaranteed championship match. He teased cashing in the other night.
Yep.
I think ultimately when he does, he'll fail. But I would do the same thing. I mean, I think that, and I like this unhinged character that he's done, and this whole character arc for him has been great. And so I would do the same thing. Now, Full Gear is kind of his show.
Yeah,
that's where the whole Full Gear name comes from. He beat Kenny Omega at that show. He didn't beat Swerve, but he had the Texas Death Match with him at last year's show. So maybe hold off until then, because that's kind of his event. But I would do the same thing. I would have him be the one to beat Bryan. I would put the championship on Hangman and let him run with it for a while.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. And shout out to both Swerve and Paige. Unbelievable fucking performance. No matter what you thought of some of the spots in that match, the fact that they went in there and broke their bodies for us, unbelievable. Paige is doing the best work of his life. So is Swerve. The character work of Paige at the end of the show, he almost looked like he was very remorseful about what he did to Swerve, and then thought second of it and just kind of yelled out to the fucking audience that he was just overjoyed by him conquering his fucking number one arch nemesis. I mean, it was just great stuff by both of these guys. I can't wait to see where it goes next, but you either loved it or you hated it. There was no in between here, but I enjoyed it, and so did Jason to an extent, minus the needle spot, but, two top-tier guys right there. Love it. Super Chats. We're going to get into your Super Chats, guys, and then say goodbye to you all on this Tuesday night. Thank you very much for joining us on episode 65 right here on TNT. Follow us on social media. Follow us on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below in the description. We did hit 750 likes, and we have more people now watching us 3 hours in than we did when we started the show. I don't know what that means, but I think that's a good thing.
You got to build. You got to build it up.
So thank you guys very much for that. Super Chats are open. They remain open. Get them on in. And let's start here with Mr. Noob. $10. This is so easy, it's stupid. If you don't like something, don't watch. Unfortunately for AEW, a lot of people don't like it and don't watch. Breath play and torture porn aren't my kink, but to each his own. Yeah. That's why, alternatives like GCW exist. Man, not my cup of tea, but, that type of shit exists out there for people that love that type of thing. But the thing with AEW is a lot of people don't like it, but they end up watching and still paying attention anyway, just like they do to us. There are people out there, a good number of people that don't like me. I'm sure Jason gets it too, and they still watch everything that we fucking do and comment and clip it and post it on social media.
Even when they say they don't.
Yeah.
They still are.
Thank you, Mr. Noob. Francis Loop with a 5. I hope this new faction of Moxley's isn't labeled as ex-WWE wrestlers, but the only ex-WWE talent that would fit would be Miro, and that's it. It would be a good spot for him, but he's out there doing DraftKings fucking ads on Twitter, so I don't know if he's coming back.
I've kind of given up on it. It's just ridiculous. How many years has it been that we've been asking about Miro? What's going on with Miro? It's like, you know what? You just get to a point. It's kind of like with Wardlow. Yeah. You just get to a point where you just stop asking.
Yeah. Michelle with a 2. Punk Gunther at Survivor Series. Drew will probably screw Punk over. I don't know. We'll see. Rollins will probably have a play in that, but we don't know if he's coming back, when he's coming back. David, thank you again for the $100 bomb, brother. Always appreciate you being on Tuesday night and whenever you show up on our streams. Thank you, man. Jason Correa with a new membership. Thank you, Jason. Sean Planet Stasiak with a $4.99. When do you think Rob Van Dam and Chris Jericho will be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Also, do you guys think Big Show deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? Yes. For Big Show.
All three of them will be in. When? Yeah. It's not up to anybody except Triple H. He'll make that call.
Jericho is not retiring anytime soon. It's not in the learning tree plans. So we still have a lot of learning to do. JP5150 with 47 months. Thank you, brother. You are one away from that elusive Mustang emote. Can't think of a better way to celebrate my birthday than watching 2 OGs talk pro wrestling while drinking an Omegang 3 Philosophers.
Ooh.
That's a damn good one, bro. It's my favorite beer. Thank you, man. Mr. Team Bringer with the $1.99. Was Goldberg better than Bret Hart?
Someone's been getting into that Omegang.
Yeah.
A little bit too much.
No. Mr. Team Bring It, no. Absolutely not. Saf with a $9.99. In my opinion, the Bucks have done it all as a tag team act. Maybe they can do an OC-style mid-card title run with Nick Jackson. His singles matches were awesome on early Dynamite. They were. And they are very good pro wrestlers. It's just the whole elite storyline with Tony Khan that fell flat on its face and went nowhere and has absolutely no end in sight and no direction. I mean, it just soured a lot of people. And them holding the tag team titles hostage doesn't help with a depleted tag team division. But yes, he's a very good pro wrestler. Best in the world, Matt, with a $2 super chat. R.I.P. James Earl Jones, a true legend. Yes. I know you posted a picture with James Earl Jones. When did you meet him?
I did, yeah. And I met him in 2012. It was an award show at John Jay College. I was backstage. And I met him and Harry Belafonte that night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was 93 years old, man. He lived a good life.
So I could say that I got to meet Darth Vader.
You did?
Not too many people can say that.
Who is this? I'm so lost, bro, with a $10 super chat. Hi, JD and Solomon. Just booked last night for Grand Slam in Australia. Even taking my partner who enjoys AEW and WWE was lucky to get tickets close to the ring. Prices range from $260 to $330. Worth it. I guess. I mean, I didn't really see that they were on sale yet, but good for you, man. Hopefully they do a good turnout for that show. I'm hoping they do anyway.
First time in that market, I think they'll do well.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'll. What's the capacity of that stadium? Maybe 40, 50?
Looked. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
I don't know if they'll get 50, but I think they'll do well their first time in. Usually, your first time in, you do pretty well.
Yeah.
As we saw with Wembley last year.
Alex with a $10 super chat. Brother JD and Solo with WWE and AEW going head-to-head on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Is there a chance we may get a live analysis of the two shows from both of you on TNT? Alex, it's funny you mentioned that because Jason and I were in Chicago and we discussed that over lunch before we went to the Hog Show. We may be taking that night off And maybe doing, what is it, Jason? Wednesday that week?
Yeah, so probably going to be doing our own live reviews on our own channel, which, I did something last year that I said I wouldn't do again, but I'll probably end up doing it, which is covering both shows at the same time, which is hard to do. But we'll probably be doing that and then doing a TNT the next night instead on Wednesday, since there won't be any Dynamite on Wednesday.
It'll be a Wednesday Night Titans. It doesn't fit the logo or the show, but yeah, there may be some scheduling conflicts with some of those shows.
Yeah, like in the week before, there may not be a TNT because that's obviously going to be a big night. So we'll work through that and then get back to it.
Yeah, and then Election Tuesday as well. We discussed there may not be a TNT then, so we'll keep you guys posted. Just keep it to social media. Mr. Team Bringer with the 199. Who has the better spear in pro wrestling? Now? I don't know. I think Goldberg has the best spear.
I mean,
listen, Braun Breaker's got the best spear now. Overall, I'd say Goldberg.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking overall, like all time, then it's Goldberg. I mean, I give the guy credit for that. But if we're talking modern day, it's got to be Braun Breaker.
Sidro with a 5. Have you heard the joke about yoga? Never mind. It's a bit of a stretch. Also, my grandfather has the heart of a lion and a lifetime ban at the zoo. Sidro, I think you're gonna need to find some new work, bro. Really. Thank you, brother. $5. Always enjoy seeing you in the chat. Clone Force with a 4 months. Roman and Cody team up at Bad Blood, and Orton Owens will have a problem with that, and that sets up Orton a heel turn, and Owens helps Orton beat Cody. Maybe onto something, man.
Yeah, that could be. I could see them. I mean, we know Kevin Owens would have an issue with that, right?
Yeah.
We saw that in that one segment backstage when he was trying to argue why he didn't deserve a title match. He went on this whole rant about Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Twisted with a $9.99. I'm going to Bad Blood, and I'm excited to see my first Hell in a Cell match live. Hopefully that ugly-ass red cell isn't there. Also, WWE and AEW needs to bring more shows, especially PLE's pay-per-views here to Atlanta. Yes, if there's one thing that Triple H got rid of, it's the red cell. We're going back to the old school cell, for sure. And I've never been to Atlanta, even though I'm a Braves fan. Never. But hopefully one day. Atlanta's a good crowd, and a right crowd for Bad Blood. I think that's going to be great.
So you've never been to a Braves game?
No.
A home game?
Only at Citi Field.
Wow.
Yeah. Sidro, $5 super chat. Stayed up all night wondering where the sun went, and then it dawned on me. Also, have you heard?
Okay. Well, you got that from fucking the last sucker. Don't think I didn't recognize that. I see you. I see what you're doing there.
Also, have you ever heard about the kidnapping at school? It's okay. He woke up. What is that one from? Is that from anything? That
probably. He probably took that from a book of jokes somewhere, but I recognize that first one. So you didn't get one over on me.
Sidro with a 2. One of my dream matches, Breaker versus Jacob Fatu. Yeah. Nowhere in the immediate future, though. William Sanchez with a $9.99. How do you feel about WWE putting the bracelet on shop? The girl who made it said she doesn't care about credit, but they didn't even mention her name or anything. WWE took it down earlier today. Well, William, we discussed it in a whole segment on the show tonight. So hopefully you guys got your bracelet fix, because we talked about that tonight. Liv Morgan flavored ice cream with a $10 super chat. Oh my God. Hello, JD, the Tribal Chief and Solid Monster, the Learning Tree. Realistically, what is Uncle Howdy's ceiling? Do you think he's a future heavyweight champion? Well, thank you, Liv Morgan's flavored ice cream. Do I think Uncle Howdy's a future heavyweight champion?
No.
There you go.
I don't. No.
I'm going to go with Jason. I'm going to say no. The Juliet 316 with a $2 super chat. Bray Wyatt Doc is airing right now on USA. Interesting.
A great documentary.
It was. MGM Ballin with a $4.99. Maybe USA wanted to move to 2 hours so the main event could be on during halftime. I don't know if that was the thought process going 2 hours, but sure. Whatever works for him. Fulgence Henry with a 29 months. Thank you, brother. Sending love from the VIP section. Thank you for the bracelets, man. I love them. Maybe you should, if you're still in the chat, brother, leave your link for your website. I'll pin it for the remainder of the show. Fire Panda with 4 months. JD vs. Solid Monster, hair versus hair at Hog. When? I don't know. I don't have much hair to give anymore, but...
Since I would be the one booking the match, how about never?
There you go. Yeah. Actually, I lie. My hair is way too long nowadays. I'm thinking about getting a haircut, but...
well, don't give that away. You tell me, and we'll book a match out of it. We'll get an angle out of it. See, this is the problem, man. You don't think. You got to do an angle out of it. I'll talk to Mason. I don't like him very much, but I'm sure he,
I think he'd take great pleasure in cutting my hair.
Oh, I think he would too. I think he'd want to set it on fire. That's what I think.
Fire Panda with 4 months. Thank you, brother. Tone C with 20. I completely understand why people want the SmackDown off Fox, but that's when I got back into pro wrestling after a very long hiatus. I can still watch on my phone or catch highlights. I'm not going anywhere. OTS for life. Thank you, Tone C. Yes, no more black screens of death on Friday nights. I can't wait. But we still get bleeped out chants like we did on Monday Night Raw last night with holy shit in the 11 o'clock hour. Come on. Come on now. Ben Callanan with the $7.99. Hey, JD and Jason, next week on NXT, CM Punk will be there to make an announcement regarding his Chicago show. Any ideas what this could be? No.
Probably a match. Not
with him specifically, maybe, right?
Well, maybe, because why else would he be on that show?
Yeah.
I mean, you could always just cut a promo, I guess, but my guess is maybe he is working with somebody from the NXT roster.
We'll see. Fire Panda with 28 in Super Chat. Thank you, Fire Panda. Monday will have her breakout match when TK brings in Becky. I don't know if that's going to happen.
No, not happening.
Becky ain't going nowhere, bro.
Well, apparently they have Becky anyway now and Jamie Hayter.
They do.
Everybody was making that comparison. So what do they need Becky Lynch for?
Sidro with a 5. The 25th of September for Vince documentary is a Wednesday. If Shane shows up at that AEW show on the same night, not going to happen. That's a nothing episode of... Wait, what is that? Grand Slam?
That's Grand Slam.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd save it for the 5th anniversary, though. Cal Ella with a 31 months. Great show, guys. As usual, R.I.P. James Earl Jones. He brought life to Darth Vader and Mufasa. Love you guys. Mustangs rule. Yeah, gotta love Darth Vader and Mustafa, man. Love the villains. Mufasa. Mustafa. Whatever. It's late. Sorry, Mufasa.
Well, you also called it a hypothermic needle. It's a hypodermic needle.
Yeah, sorry. This fucking guy corrected me over here. That's what I got him here for.
Well, actually, don't think I didn't catch that. I saw that person in the chat, Solomon's doing the well, actually thing. That's right. That's me.
Yeah. Listen, man, I'm not perfect. Neither is Swerve or Page. New member here by... no, actually, it's not a new member. Why I don't know why YouTube does this. It's a new member, and then the same guy has 8 months. Pause with an 8-month membership. If we don't see Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at Mania, how would you feel about Randy versus Nick Aldis or a final match with John Cena? Give me Randy versus Cody. I'm not really all that interested in Randy versus Nick Aldis. Maybe during WrestleMania build when they were kind of having that little dissension back and forth and Nick Aldis find him. But no. And a final match with John Cena, yes. That could be the case for sure.
At some point we can get a match between the GMs, given that they're both wrestlers. We could have Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis both come out of retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Aldis is not retired, but that could be a match. That could happen at some point.
Arabian Night with 279. Maybe the Motor City Machine Guns show up tomorrow. They're too good for NXT. NXT is going to be going under a different look and vibe, I think, with the CW debut. So I wouldn't really write them off. I think they're really kind of slowly crawling towards a little black and gold vibe. We'll see.
Well, also on the CW, I mean, they'll probably get more eyeballs on them than if they ended up on Dynamite. But it's possible. Again, I'm expecting at least one surprise in that gauntlet. If not them, I'm not really sure who else it would be.
And if it's the Machine Guns, good for them. I mean, is it going to bring the excitement we need to the tag team division? Probably not, but anything is better than what they're doing now. Furious Nation with 35 months. What's up, guys? Can't believe tomorrow is the unfortunate 23rd anniversary of 9/11. Also happy that Raw is going back to 2 hours. Yes, it is 9/11 tomorrow. Demeter, Demeter Bullion, $7.99. Tonight, his name is Demeter Bullion, watching TNT with TMNT and Triple H. Dear JD and Solomonster, I hope this message finds you both well. I am doing well. Thank you for inquiring about my day. I wanted to wish you both well. Waga V.
That's the most coherent message I've heard yet.
I know,
That's
it's crazy.
Yeah, well, that must mean he is doing very well. I'm very happy to hear that.
He followed up with a 99 cents, no message, but his name is Demeter Biwa Jerwaga Wooga Booger Wo Maga Nu Ka. Thank you.
Well, I take back everything I just said. I tried to pay you a compliment, and now I have to receive.
Oh, man. You guys are crazy, man. David with a 4 months. JD and Solo tag team casino gauntlet match got announced for Dynamite tomorrow. Not sure if that's the right call for AEW's tag teams. Thoughts? I think Jason and I both think that they are slowly driving the concept into the ground, but it is a tag team gauntlet match, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they have all those men in the ring at the same time. I don't know. We'll see. Fire Panda with another 28. Got a great idea. JD, you grow your hair out, and the salamander grows out the beard. What do you say? Grow the beard out?
Yeah, I've tried it before. It just doesn't look. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't look natural. It's too light. I think that's part of the problem. It's too light. You almost don't even notice it, and then it gets itchy, and it's.
Me on the other hand, the goatee stays. You don't want to see me without facial hair.
It'd be like Hogan without the Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Furious Nation.
It just doesn't feel right.
No. Furious Nation will end with this $9.99. Also, I'm not sure if I told you this yet, JD, but I have given up soda for about 5 years now, and you inspired me to do that. Also, RIP to the legend, James Earl Jones. Good for you, brother. I haven't drank soda. The only time I drink soda is when I decide to indulge in a Jack and Coke. Otherwise, I do not drink soda. Very bad for you. Seltzer water or sparkling water, and that is it. And that is it for you guys. Thank you, Furious Nation, and everybody else that donated tonight. Great energy in the super chats. Love it. As usual, before we get out of here, I'm going to let Jason do what he usually does best and sound us off. What do you got, man?
Well, we had a packed show here, so I think we covered a lot of ground. I just want to, as I sometimes do, just chime in and say thank you to everybody who has been making TNT a big success and a lot of fun. So I want to say thank you for that, and keep it up. There's going to be some fun shows coming up, I'm sure. It's going to be a very busy fall, a lot going on. But I know JD and I both appreciate it very much. So I just wanted to use my parting message to say thank you to all of you.
And I thank you guys as well, man. TNT is rocking and rolling. Love to see the energy when you guys watch the show. We're venturing into the 40,000, 50,000 views after a good 48 hours on YouTube, man. It shows me and tells me you guys love what we're doing here on Tuesday nights. And we very much appreciate it. Demeter Bullion comes in. Demeter, JD, and Solo. I have a question for you with a 99 cents. And then he leaves no question. That is our cue to get out of here. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate you. And we'll see you right back here next week for episode 66 of TNT on Tuesday Night Titan. See you guys later.